All right, I'm live. Give some time for the people to trickle in. Hopefully, everyone's having a good day today. Got lots to talk about. Definitely lots to talk about. It's going to be kind of like a subsequent follow up video in regards to the whole police brutality and oppression. And as the title of this particular stream suggests, is can we please, or not we, I shouldn't say that's that collective language, right? It's hard to, it is really difficult to get it from underneath of, because we as humans are so enamored with this an in-group preference or this tribal mentality. It's something really difficult for humans to get to escape from. But like I say, the big issue is this is a unique, I mean, there's been past opportunities, but this is an excellent opportunity for people from all backgrounds, from all races, from all political stripes and heritage to come together. But what's driving me crazy, what's irking me the most right now in relation to the violent, well, you talk about the violent protest, the violent police, the police brutality, the oppression, which we all know that it definitely takes place, but and the protests now that have been happening as a consequence of the police brutality, whether it's in Canada, the U.S., or anywhere as far as that goes. Is but the way the media and the political class is covering it is constantly hammering away and using the identity politics game. That's their go-to narrative, right? That's constantly looking to the political correctness or the identity politics playbook. That's what these people who represent the establishment media and the establishment political class in, like I say, in Canada, the U.S., is they run to this divisive routine that just basically pits people into particular groups and pit them against each other, right? But as far as I'm concerned, no, you need to stop playing this identity politics game. Listen, I'm against oppression for all people. Can we stop racializing this shit, please? It's not like black people are the only people who are oppressed or brutalized by the fucking police, by the order followers of the state. This is something that happens to people. And yeah, I've got examples. Yeah, you better believe I brought, not only bring my typical pushback and informed knowledge that I bring to the table. But yeah, I got some examples. Yeah, white, black, brown, what do you want? Lots of people from every color. I mean, if aliens lived on this planet and they were green, guaranteed it wouldn't be too long. You'd be reading the first story about the alien that was brutalized by the police by going, 10 kilometers too fast in his spaceship or UFO or whatever. Or not respecting the authority, right? So come on. Like I say, it's ridiculous to get in this whole premise of playing identity politics when you're talking about the oppressive nature of the state and their order followers. Come on. We've got to definitely do better than that. Well, I'm going to do better. And hopefully most of the folks will join into this stream will as well. I do see they're showing 7 there, but there's only one person. Hey, what's going on? Official blasphemy. Don't feel too isolated alone. Trust me, you'll get over it anyways. I sometimes I feel that myself, but yeah, it is what it is, right? Anyways, I know it's early. That's the other thing too. I was actually going to try another follow-up outdoor video, but yeah, on the old East Coast today, burr. I tell you, in Canada, in just like a 1 month time frame, basically, well, a little bit over a month now, but went from like freaking snow everywhere, freezing cold, and then it was like, woo, baby, sweating balls off, like 30-degree weather, 30 degrees Celsius weather, right? Getting even tannage already, to now back to barely chilly in there this morning. Got to watch for frost, even for the plants. Like me and the wife finally transplanted all of our little vegetables that were put in the vegetable garden. We finally, well, it's been a little while now, about a week or so, but we finally waited to transplant them into the actual garden. And got to watch out for the frost still, even in June. Crying out loud. Hey, what's going on? Paul B. Sinet. What's new this morning? And good morning. What's new is, well, there's not much new other than the fact that this stream, but new is, I guess, well, for some people might be just the idea of, yeah, we got to do our best to reach out to the people that care about standing for individual rights, freedom, and liberty, and get them to be a big show of force or a big voice pushing back against the political correctness or the identity politics narrative that's being hammered out and hammered away at by the establishment politicians and their media mouthpieces. Because this is like I say, this is an amazing opportunity in 2020 for a lot of us from all different backgrounds and stripes, right? To say, listen, let's come together, and yeah, we got to put the enforcers, those mindless enforcers for the state, we got to put them in check, and not just to protect people from one particular background or depend on their skin tone, right, or color. Come on. No, we want to stop oppression taking place and police brutality from taking place any further towards any people, regardless of their skin color, right? That's what we want. So, like I say, we have to do our best to push back against this kind of politically divisive narrative that the establishment media is hammering away on. Good morning, Linda Kilmesh. Good morning to you. Nice to see you in the stream. Thank you very much for joining in. Who's this? Tharky Thula. Tharky Thula. I'm a new subscriber to the channel. Well, thank you very much, Mr. or Mrs. Sorry, I should say. Tharky Thula. Really appreciate you being a new subscriber to the channel. It's actually nice to see some new subscribers because my channel's been pretty stagnant as of late. Of course, we know that YouTube is definitely trying their best to suppress content like myself. And hey, we even know that that's actually true, right? Because we've heard it from the horse's mouth herself. Sorry, not to call Susan a horse, but you know, it's just a turn of phrase, right? But yeah, we heard from Susan herself that yes, they're definitely suppressing certain content. So I understand what's taking place, but it's not going to silence me regardless. And actually, I will just say before I get into this, BitChute seems to have got their issues fixed. I've uploaded 2 videos to BitChute in the last couple of days, and both of them have stuck, both of them have processed. So yeah, and I'm seeing a few other people saying that they seem to have ironed out the issues, which is great, because that means now I do have like that redundant backup platform. So in case YouTube does get even worse with not just demonetizing my channel, but like I say, basically trying to hide the fact that I even exist, right? Anyways, now that I mentioned that, because I'm going to try to be fairly reasonable in this, and I'm, even going to try to keep the swearing to a minimum. I'm going to turn on the monetization for this particular video. Man's got to make a buck or two, right? At least. Yeah, typical streams, yeah, you get, I don't know, might be $3 or $4. It's not a whole lot, but I guess they add up in time, right? But like I say, got to get paid. Let's go into, oh no, that's not how I do it. Sorry, my bad. I just did the wrong thing there. Oh, that's taking a while. What's going on here? Okay, go to channel videos. For some reason, like I say, I have to do this after the fact once I'm already streaming, which is really odd, right? To turn on the monetization. So here we go, monetization. Turn that bad boy on. There we go. I might as well just add that there might be some slight light profanity, because that may happen, right? Is there going to be adult content? Nah, no sexual stuff, anything like. Hey, just by using these words, actually, the algorithm might be messing me up. So I better keep shh, right? All these other things, nope. Sensitive issues, well. Let's see here. Discussions of modern acts. Shoot. Dang it. All right. Oh boy. So that's the thing. One of them is sensitive issues, discussions of modern acts of terror, events resulting in the catastrophic loss of human life, or controversial social issues. Controversial. Like, come on. Why don't you just say anything? If you talk about anything that we don't want you to talk about, which is basically seeming like, what am I allowed to talk about? The weather? Fuck. Anyways, I'm just going to click on I'm going to be disgusted. So I guess I'm going to have limited fucking ads on this because, they won't allow it. So anyways, all right. So maybe I won't be getting paid very much. Actually, with limited, it basically, won't be getting shit. So, oh, well, whatever. It is what it is, right? Not much I can do about it. YouTube, pathetic. Actually, BitChute hopefully can get some kind of I can get better set up so I can get monetized over on BitChute. Okay, does it look like it worked? Yeah. Anyways, like I say, no big deal. Let's get back in and see who else has joined into the stream. MK, exactly. Don't tell me I'm privileged because of the color of my skin. Yeah, it's so freaking ridiculous. It's just, oh, it just grinds my gears when I hear this stuff because, like I say, I've seen people my whole life be oppressed and brutalized and treated like second-class citizens by the enforcers, the mindless enforcers in this country. And it's only gotten worse. And like I was showing my other stream, look at how low the standards have become to even become a police officer in this country. Like, come on, you know this stuff is going to get worse when the standards are that low, right? And especially when you got the media and the political class playing up identity politics and dividing us along racial lines. Like, this is the kind of stuff. They're the ones that are shoving out the red meat and the fodder for this kind of escalation in tensions, right, between the people, between the races. And yeah, it bothers me because they're the ones that cause all the hardship, as far as I'm concerned, or a substantial portion of it. I shouldn't say all, but a substantial portion of the hardship comes as a direct result in how the media even covers these issues. Hi, long-time follower here too, Lurker. Right on. Awesome. Well, I really appreciate that. Well, if you wouldn't mind, lurk away, do your thing. But if you wouldn't mind, hit that old subscribe button, because like I say, I could really use the help. Like I say, I've gone down. I reached a whole peak of 8. What was it? 8 point, whatever the hell it was. No, 7.92, whatever it was. I was almost getting to the 8,000 subscribers, but then I'm losing more subscribers than I'm gaining over time, I guess. But anyways, forget about that. Yeah, BitChute. Yeah, that's like I say, seems like it's working. Lurkers, welcome. For sure, lurk away. I have no issues with that. I was a lurkers. Well, lurker or learner, like, because that's even myself. Especially when it's areas or topics that I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to be the guy that's lurking. I'll just kind of be peeking over the shoulder, trying to listen, get or observe what's taking place, what's happening, and then I'll wait till I think I'm informed well enough before I actually start speaking out. Actually, I wish a lot more people would do that. Maybe just hold off, because you hear a lot of people, they'll start and it's like, you're only repeating what you heard on the media. You didn't think of that yourself. Can you at least sit back and reflect on the information, maybe get some different narratives or perspectives or opinions, and then come to me, so that at least you're speaking from something where you have some kind of knowledge or wisdom on the topic. And like, a lot of people don't. Like I say, a lot of people just want to just spew rhetoric for the sake of virtue signaling. For the most part, a lot of virtue signaling, but a lot of that virtue signaling is actually not only needless and unnecessary, because it fails to actually come up to the standard of being virtuous. It's very counterproductive, because a lot of times the people that are virtue signaling stuff that, like, they've created themselves a nice little straw man, right? It's like, well, how about you talk about something that's real? How about we talk to each other instead of you creating this little straw man and then arguing against that? Because guess what? Yeah, the straw man's not going to argue back. But anyways, yeah. Okay, it was nice to see you in casual clothes and outside. Yeah, but glad you're back in the office too. Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'm definitely going to do more. And actually, I even put yesterday on I got StreamYards now on my smartphone too. So that's the thing. I was thinking I'll do the walking and talking. You know how you get some people that do the walking and talking, but I thought, oh no, I won't be able to do the walking and talking much unless it's just around the perimeter of my house, because then you have to use mobile data. I realized, oh shoot, no, I don't have mobile data. I can't really afford mobile data. So I have to at least stay close to the Wi-Fi connection from the house. But I'll definitely, like I say, because it's on a smartphone and I have the camera and the mic, everything's built right into it, I'll be able to at least try different areas. And I'm going to try once again using the laptop with the setup I had the other day outside on my deck a few times too, because yeah, that was pretty cool. I liked it. But like someone else was saying in the stream, yeah, I need shades. I might have to wear sunglasses, or at least try to figure it away so that the sun's not so harsh in terms of like being able to see the screen, because it was really hard to even read my screen and to read what you people were saying. I love profanity. Hey, I don't mind it myself, to be honest with you, but I'm constantly my speech is being policed by YouTube on a continual basis, which is so freaking wrong. Like I say, and I wish that I didn't have to use YouTube, and I wish people say, yeah, but you can go to these other channels. But Yes, and I get it, but a lot less people are over on those other channels, like on BitChute and stuff. But it's growing. I've got what 300 subscribers, 300 plus subscribers on BitChute, so that's pretty good. But on how many people? Let's say I was doing this on BitChute, how many people would actually be watching it now? Well, actually, I can't even live stream on BitChute, so that's obviously an issue as well, right? Maybe that's something to consider or ponder there, BitChute, is make it so that we can live stream through your platform. That would be excellent. But yeah, I wish I could be much more free in my language and my speech as well. It drives me nuts that I live in a country that we don't have genuine freedom of speech in this country. Kinda, right? But not really. Hey, good afternoon from Namibia, all. Line in the sand. Hello, good afternoon from Namibia. Very nice to see someone from such distant countries such as Namibia joining the stream. Very appreciative of that. Come on in. Come on down. All is welcome. Like I say, I don't judge based on anything more than if you're a decent person. That's the kind of person I am. If you're a decent person, I don't care. Like I say, I don't care what color you are, what country you come from, what your background is. Like I say, good. If you just told me the other day, yeah, I just landed from Mars, I'm an alien. It's like, cool. Are you going to be decent? Are you going to respect the non-aggression principle, right? Property rights, self-ownership, all those things that, us promoters of individual liberty hold near and dear. If so, hey, come on down. Anyways, let's see what's hey, little Miss Soda. Always good to see little Miss Soda all in the stream. Oh, you look lovely and spring fresh. Yeah. And actually, talk about the spring fresh. Actually, I big fan of the Irish Spring soap, and I did use some, so that probably helped a little bit. And the fact that you can get it at the Dollarama for a really cheap price these days, well, at least compared to most other things, right? Is great to have Dollarama. Dollarama is great for us people on the lower end of the socioeconomic ladder these days. I wasn't always down here this low. Like I used to actually be okay. What would I been considered? I guess probably like I don't know, middle class-ish, right? Lower to middle class. Now, thanks to the state, thanks to big government, thanks to collective punishment, yeah, I've been knocked all the way down. Now, I could have built myself back up in the 10 years since, right? But I've come to actually accept and acknowledge that, I guess because I come from very poor upbringing when I was a kid. Like I tell you, we didn't even have indoor plumbing for a long time, but I don't mind it. I've got so many other things in my life that can fulfill that void that, like people that are constantly striving for the, the bigger, better deal or success in terms of economics. And I'm still a big promoter of it and avid supporter of doing that and being entrepreneurs. But because I recognize the state is going to try so many ways to squash and quell my ambitions and my goals, I've lowered the standards a bit, and I don't like to. Like I say, I'm not proud of that fact, but I'm also very much happy with my current situation. Not economically, it's pretty rough that way, but in terms of my mindset and the people that I've surrounded myself with and the love that I have for my family and all that, and you folks of the community, like this means so much more to me than, making an extra $1,000 or like $2,000 a week or so. I mean, would I love to have that and be able to, make sure that I'm take care of myself and my wife long off into the future and saving? And that's something that definitely still needs to take place. But like I say, my life has definitely been reprioritized as of late. And like I say, what I do and the stuff that I share with you folks, I'm going to carry this with me for the rest of my life because I really appreciate how you folks interact and engage with me, and some really wise people and some good, moral, decent people too. So, anyways, not police brutality. That's their job. Police incompetence. Bring back proactive policing. Serve the people. Not. Maybe you accidentally hit the K by accident there, but yeah, there's definitely police brutality. And I get that's the other thing too is and I get not everyone's going to have that kind of anecdotal real world experience, but what I would just ask, and this is just something that I just think it's just fair for everyone, is if you haven't been brutalized by the police, I get it. I understand that you haven't, that's not an experience you've lived, and I totally understand there are a lot of people that have never had to deal with that, right? And I'm not going to judge anyone based on that as to whether they're really super conformist or they just been lucky, because I'll also even admit and mention that I've known a lot of people like, damn, they've done a lot of things that actually probably could have been not just deemed criminal for sure criminal, but yeah, probably should have been punished. And yeah, they got away with it many, 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 many times. So I get even some bad actors are like, well, actually, I seem to do okay, right? I mean, if you've been that fortunate, good for you. But like I say, there are a lot of us Canadians, like I say, regardless of your skin color, who have been brutalized. And like I say, not just from the order followers, but everyone who represents the state. And I mean, I mean, if there were these examples of the good people, I wouldn't be living under my current situation that I am today. If there were these good people, that's why when people keep talking to me, well, oh, there's just a few bad apples, and all the greater good will win out the end. Like I say, 10 years later, where's the greater good in terms of my situation, my circumstance? No, and I've been trying for 10 years, not like I just went away and forgot about what happened to me, right, and how detrimental that has been to my social and economic bottom line, even my personal life, right, and even relationships that I've had to, because of arguing about these kinds of things. But no, at every junction, at every example, whether it's your lowly court clerk or your judge or your crown prosecutor, the police, every one of them, no, it's they're corrupted institutions. You have very, very corrupt people that will brutalize others. Will they do to everyone? No. Well, like even with Trude or even with Hitler or Stalin or Mussolini or Mao. No, if you kiss the ring or if you do everything your masters tell you to, no, you can go through a pretty decent life in this country thinking that you have freedom. But in reality, you don't. You're just very conformist. And if you want to live that life of conformity, like I said, I won't judge. You do your thing. But don't expect me to live my entire life as a conformist, a compliant serf to a ruling class. I just won't do it. Now, if you want to point me out as well, if you don't do that, that makes you the bad guy. You're the one that's bringing trouble on yourself. Well, then that you sound very much like a statist. And but anyways, obviously that's not what little Missy was saying. But no, it does happen, Missy. It really does happen. Like I say, my son, myself, drop your bit shoot, please. Little Miss, drop your bit shoot, please. Not even sure what that means, Little Miss Soda. Maybe you clarify, drop it. I'm not sure what that means. But anyways, moving on. Okay. Policing was almost perfected just before 2011. It's a tough job. Political, but more so now. Now it's only political. But more so now it's only political. Well, there's definitely a lot of politics involved, right? And that's the thing. These people are doing it and they're following these orders unquestionably and causing a lot of harm to a lot of people. I'm just one of many. What do you expect only when mainstream media only allows to monetize? Yeah, I know, right? On Dead Quinn. Yeah, it's crazy. Hey, what's going on? Tommy Gunn, nice to see you in the chat. Oh, actually, by the way, thanks for by Tommy Gunn coming in there. Actually, just remind me because there was another gentleman, another Tommy. I don't know if that's you, Tommy Gunn, but there's someone else. Darn, I should have had this all set up. I forgot to do this actually. But yeah, I've got 3 interviews. Let me bring them up before I get too far into it. Yeah, Thomas Rhino sent me a message. Oh, his username on Twitter is @skilledSapper. Sapper. Sapping my energy, man. I don't know what the hell that means, but anyways, we're going to have a conversation Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern time about the whole premise of banning Antifa and the poll that I put on there. So that should be pretty wild, right? And also too, I put on there about the government is a terrorist organization. Because if you go by what the definition of terrorist is, or a terrorist group, yeah, government meets that definition perfectly to a T, right? So we're going to have a conversation, like I say, Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. So that'll be an evening one for some of the folks that don't get to watch the daytime streams. Then, of course, there's my conversation I'm going to be having with Mitchell Foley on the June 12th at 2 p.m. Atlantic time regarding collective punishments and all that stuff. That should be an excellent conversation as well. And then the last one, where's another one? Oh, yeah. Oliver A. Sampson, was it? I believe it's Oliver Sampson. Anyways, wants to talk on or come and do a stream. Okay, so we haven't actually hammered out when that's going to be. But yeah, there's all Adamson. Oh, so Oliver Adamson, sorry, wants to talk on my uh, Canadian Libertarian YouTube channel, do a live stream together in July sometime. So that's going to be a little ways off for that one. But yeah, we got some conversations definitely coming up in the burn on the for the channel. And of course, me and my son will be definitely doing another live stream to upload on the Liberty Hunter podcast as well. So anyways, thanks for reminding me there, Tom, again. What's going on, Ron? CYR, howdy y'all. Hard to reach folks with this left-right paradigm, right? Question or race issues, gender and preference issue, immigration, religion, or globalization, and you're a bigot. Question authority, war, you get. Yeah, I sure do. It's like I say, just so much time is going by, and like I say, what a waste of time. A lot of this stuff could have been figured out years ago if we could just get people to put aside their petty differences and, like I say, just get people who are representatives of all these communities or these groups and bring them all together to talk so that people can see, look, there's people that are leading by example. This is what I want to do, but I can't seem to get garner enough. And like I say, if some of you people, I know some of you people that are in the stream, if you're a First Nations person, if you're Black, if you're a Muslim, like Middle Eastern, Asian, right? Whatever you are, white, I don't care. Just please, I would love to bring a whole on BitChute or on StreamYards. I can bring on up to 6 people. We can bring people from many different backgrounds and areas to talk about this stuff, to show how let's send a message to the ruling class and the media mouthpieces. This is how you do it. You bring people together. You don't try to divide them. You don't play politics with this kind of stuff. You bring people together. That's what I want to do. So like I say, if someone wants to help me set something up, I'm going to try my best, like I say, to reach people. Oh, by the way, greeting folks, Kevin, Cody Leatherdale. That's what I want to do. I want to bring people together so we can have a good conversation about this stuff and show it's not just about people from one particular background or race or color or what's between their legs. It's about ideas at the end of the day. Good morning from Vancouver. Good vibes. Right on. Thank you very much for joining us there, CJ Dub 316. Appreciate that. Hey, Barb Harwood Gendron. Good morning from Ontario. Right on, Harwood. Harwood Gendron. When I lived in Ajax, I lived on Harwood. Actually, Harwood is a street or road? Harwood Street, I believe. Anyways, it used to be an actually off-ramp in Ajax. Now it's not. You actually have to go to Westney or Salem. You can't get off the on-ramp. But yeah, Ajax a pretty cool city. It's big enough that it's got everything you need, but not too big, right? Okay, like I say, we should go hunting the cable news. Why to tell the lies? We should. Not sure what that means there, but good morning from Manitoba. Hey, what's going on, Corey W? Interlake, nice. Very nice to see someone from Manitoba. You can probably see from one side of that place to the other, huh? See one border or the other. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. But I've been to Manitoba in the Winnipeg area. There was like, holy crap. Yep. This is just like the prairies down in the U.S. Very, very flat spot. Very flat spot. It was wicked though. We really enjoyed ourselves there because we got laid over for the weekend and went out to a couple, I guess you'd call them bars or whatever. Not really clubs, bars back in the day. But yeah, it was pretty cool. I enjoyed myself out there. No black profile pic. Black profile pic? No black profile pic. Must be wrong. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Perhaps she means drop a link to your. Oh, okay. That could be it. Thanks. Right? Yeah, that's probably what it is. Sorry. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, let me try that. I wonder because I don't know. A lot of times the links won't necessarily show up, but I'll give her a shot. I'll definitely give it a shot. Go to my channel. Yeah, actually, I wouldn't mind because then you folks, yeah, you can head on over there. Yeah, 307 subscribers is what I got on BitChute. Okay. Sending that out right now in the stream. Let's see here. Okay. So there it is there, folks. Well, Should be there now. Thanks for mentioning that there, official. Screw the crown, it can go down. Screw the crown, it can go down. It would make this Acadian happy. No, just kidding. The crown did try to get rid of us all after all. Yeah. Oh, hey, what's going on, Steve the Cross? I remember Steve the Cross. I think you're that same guy. Is it Steve the Cross, the one with the two T's on? There's so many people getting contact with or follow over the course of all the social media platforms. Hard to keep track of everyone, but yeah, I did that there. Hey, what's going on, Edgar Forrest? And good morning from the Okanagan Valley. Right on. Nice, nice. Awesome. Antifa, anti-fascist, LOL. Well, that's the thing. That's the name of their organization. Now, are some of the people using that name, that label, to be a bunch of fascists themselves, right? It sure seems that way. But yeah, I'm anti-fascist as well, which is why I can't really get behind any petition that Maxine put out there is banning Antifa. No, I don't believe in banning ideas or ideology. Hey, what's going on? I see we got here Lance's YouTube. Good morning from Calgary. Well, good morning, Lance from Calgary. Really appreciate you joining the stream. If you haven't already, actually, if you wouldn't mind subscribing to the channel, and also everyone else out there, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like as well, that would be really appreciative. The globalists have won. 80% of the people are NPCs. Boy, it does seem that way, doesn't it, Tommy? It does seem that way, but like I say, would you say one? It's very defeatist and like almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Fatalistic, as if like that's like the war is over. No, man, no, brush yourself up. Like you can lose a battle from time to time, but the war is still taking place, right? Yeah, get yourself up, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, right? And put your thinking noggin or cap back on and get back out there, folks. Get back out there, because yeah, we might have lost a couple battles, but the war is still ongoing. And like I say, the truth is one hell of a powerful tool that we have at our disposal that our opponents don't have access to. So we've got the secret weapon. Keep that in mind. Tommy. Enough of this leftist racism crap being pushed by. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, Eugene Harder. Nice pool, by the way. Is just the way you took that picture? It almost looks like the pool is triangular. Oh no, I get it. It's probably because it's much bigger and you just couldn't fit it all into it. But that's a nice pool, by the way. That's pretty sweet. Anyways, I'm gonna read a Flatlander. Flatlander. Yeah. That's exactly what I wish for. Okay. Yeah. Sorry if I get confused sometimes when people post stuff, because that's the thing. That's why I prefer to talk to people like in the verbal manner, right? Because sometimes things in text can be misconstrued, and I've seen that happen. I've had experience. I've done it, and I've experienced it myself so many times. It's like it is good to put clarifiers out there or things to even use emoticons or emojis to kind of emphasize what you're trying to express. Because yeah. So easy to misconstrue what people are trying to say. Hey, what's going on, Large Coffee? Nice to see. Oh, that's freaking cool. Look at the guy with his, looks like his bambino. That's a beautiful sight to see. Beautiful sight to see. Excellent. Take care of that little fellow or girl, whatever it is there. They are the future, right? They are the future. Same guy always watching. Hey, that's good. Hey, I don't even mind. Like I said, I don't even mind if people just sit in the background and just watch. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. I do plenty of talking and all that. And there's still lots of people that do chime in. So, but anyways, I got this article, folks, I'm going to read, and wow, just beautiful. And it's out of a tablet magazine. Not even familiar with it, but someone else shared it. Shoot, I should have tried to remember who it was that shared this. I think it was on was it a Twitter post that I actually happened to find on my feed while I was scrolling? It's been a few days, like I say, but just excellent, exceptional, well done, and very, very important information. It's basically the kind of stuff that I talk about all the time, but obviously it's nice to hear from other people's voices, because like I say, it's the ideas that matter. Not necessarily, who the person, I mean, the people matter too, right? But it's the ideas that matter most. And this author of this article has some great ideas, and obviously very passionate about standing up for individual rights and freedoms, which is, definitely appeals to me. Gets me right here. So yeah, okay, just checking, make sure that you folks can see it there. Yep, looks like everything is good. So scrolling down, this was contributed by Elijah Nouvelage. Well, that's the pitch. Sorry, that the picture is of Elijah Nouvelage, Getty Images. Sorry, my bad. So the contributor of the actual article, there we go, is, oh my God, my eyes are terrible. I know I should put on the glasses, but I'm going to fight it tooth and nail as long as I can. Zed. Whoa, that's a tough one. Zed Lani or Jelani, because that's the thing. I'm not sure if the J is silent or not, because it can be, right? J can be silent a lot of times. But anyways, it's by Zad or Zaid Jelani. I think that probably sounds about right. Zaid Jelani. Anyways, sorry if I'm butchering the name, but just trying to attribute who the contributor is there and give them acknowledgement. So this was contributed, like I say, June the 4th, 2020. We are individuals, not victims. Like I say, get you right here. Seeing African Americans or Muslims or Jews as part of victimized minority collectives is a toxic formulation that ensures that we are never treated fairly as individuals and denies us the ability to exercise real power. Ha ha! Ha! Preach it to the choir here. Beautiful. Beautiful words. Like I say, I agree wholeheartedly. On May 29th, as many thousands of Americans took to the streets to protest the death of George Floyd in police custody, and a much smaller group of people took advantage of the situation to engage in looting, arson, and rioting, left-of-center filmmaker Michael Moore fired out a tweet with a simple proposal that summarizes the woke worldview that has taken root among the elites of the Anglo-American world. Moore suggested that the police headquarters in Minneapolis should be demolished as a show of contrition to Black America. The police department should then be rebuilt with decent, kind people, aka people of color. Sounds very racist, Michael. You go from one extreme to the other. That's the thing with these people. So extreme in their views that it's like there's just doesn't seem to be any nuance there, right? But anyways, moving on. In days past, this would have been considered an odd statement among the political left. The left's civil rights tradition was based on equal treatment and evaluating people based on their character rather than their skin color, right? Martin Luther King, baby. Martin Luther King. Yeah, judge people. He wanted to see a country. He wanted to see America where people are judged by the content of their character, not the color of their skin, right? So people like Michael Moore and some of these other leftist, elitist activists are doing people like JFK a huge disservice by promoting this kind of identity politics and divisiveness. The abusive treatment of Floyd by the 4 police officers who detained him, all of whom were fired by the department in charge, rightly shocks people's consciousness. But it wasn't an assault on an entire racial group by an entire police department. Instead of burning buildings as an act of contrition, as Moore called for, shouldn't it be the police involved apologizing to George Floyd's loved ones, first and foremost, and then to the entire Minneapolis community for betraying their trust by abusing their role as public servants? Yeah, right? Right? Makes sense to me. First and foremost. I also wonder what exactly makes non-white people inherently decent or kind. Like anyone else, we are capable of both good and bad, of both peace and violence, right? Exactly. That's what I've been saying to people all the time. A lot of people that normally befriended me in the past and no longer watch my videos. You know, those thousands of Canadians when I was supporting the PBC that were watching my videos on a regular basis that no longer do. Those same kind of people have turned their back on me. Why? Because I say same things such as this towards white people as well. Yeah, no, sorry, I'm not going to get into your little white nationalist movement because, by the way, the people who have oppressed me the most and treated me the worst in my own country are people that share my same skin color. So not saying that people from different colors or backgrounds haven't done things bad to me too, but in a minority compared to, like I say, people that share my own skin color or my own heritage or my own background. So yeah, I knew this very early on when I was a young man. I learned this stuff by sheer fact that, yeah, The people who have abused me and treated me the worst over the course of my life, even when I was a kid, all the way up to an adult, all the way up to like being an almost 50-year-old man today, are all people that share my same skin color. So like there is none of this shit where, oh, I just got to get behind people because of the color of their skin. Oh, we just got to show solidarity with each other because of the color of our skin, or because what, we have shared European history. What does that even mean too when people say, oh, there's shared European history? Hello, do you forget about the 20th century? Does it look like Nazi Germany got along great with France? Right? Or how about Russia and Germany? Or how about England and, like, come on. I mean, to me, it's just ridiculous. Or Italy, right? I mean, come on. To me, it's just ridiculous to try to play these kind of collectivist games, right? Really, at the end of the day, no. You should always judge people based on their individual characteristics or who they are as a person, not based on any superficial aspects or attributions that is completely outside their control, like this color of their skin, right? Like, come on, just nonsense. But yeah, I agree. Doesn't matter. People from all colors can be good and bad, and doesn't mean that they're good and bad all the time. It changes even day to day or moment to moment. We're human beings, right? Even when it comes to police violence, you cannot reliably predict someone's behavior just by their skin color. A 2018 study from Rutgers University found that non-white police officers are no less likely to use lethal force against minorities, right? So yeah, how many times have we seen those police brutality videos shared across the social media platforms? YouTube in particular, lots of videos uploaded to YouTube showing a tremendous amount of police brutality. People, a black police officer beating the shit out of a black young man, right? Or a Middle Easterner beating up another police officer beating up a Middle Eastern. Like, this happened. Like, yes, like I say, at the end of the day, we're talking about human beings. All human beings are fallible and susceptible to doing wrong or bad things. Additionally, while acts of police brutality are horrible, the killing of unarmed suspects is actually very rare and not exclusive to one racial group. In 2019, 41 unarmed people were shot and killed by police. 9 of them were African American, which tells you that 32 of the 41 who were killed weren't African American, which means, probably white, maybe brown, maybe First Nations, many different, like Mexican, right? Of Mexican, or what would you call it? Hispanic, right? Descent. So, like I say, it happens to people from all different colors and backgrounds. So, I mean, the fact that out of the 41, there was 32, it tells you that it's an issue for all of us, not just for people from, as this contributor is suggesting, not just from people from one racial background. So, like I say, this is something that should be unifying us, not dividing us. And that's what I'm trying to do, as opposed to most of the hacks in the establishment media. By presenting these facts, I am not denying the reality of racial discrimination in some of America's policing. Just look at this recent study of police traffic stops by the Stanford School of Engineering. The researchers analyzed 95 million traffic stop records and found that fewer black drivers tend to be stopped at night because of veil of darkness prevents police from seeing their race. The color blindness that many progressive-minded people, including myself, pine for has not yet been achieved by all of America's police. It should not take the sun setting to treat people fairly, right? We tend to make snap judgments based on the information available to us. Social psychologists call this the availability heuristic because we use stereotypes and limited information to try and make sense of the world, right? This is really getting to some really good stuff here, folks, so listen up. In both the cases of Moore's patronizing tweet and the racial profiling that plagues too much of our policing, people are using limited information informed by stereotypes to reach unfair conclusions. The filmmaker probably has seen the familiar string of YouTube videos featuring white police officers abusing or killing black suspects unjustly, or read one of the many prominent articles in the media highlighting these incidents. From that limited information, he may have construed a worldview where whites embody a form of inherent sin. Meanwhile, minorities are seen as virtuous victims rather than what we really are, individuals who are capable of good or evil, violence, or peace, right? And that stereotype is so true, and it's so prevalent. And the problem with stereotypes, and I think they even cover that in this, is the fact that the stereotypes, actually, the reason why stereotypes stick is because, you can see generalized or particular patterns of certain people in certain ways. If like I say, if you're willing to completely ignore the individual. Now, me as a libertarian, I don't ignore the individual. I can talk about generalized issues or stereotypes, but once again, at the core, before I would actually ever judge any particular person or any particular activity that an individual or a group undertake, it would be based on each individual, right? Which is why I'm not into banning entire groups' ideas or ideologies, because no, people that commit acts of violence are individuals. Just because someone else might have joined a particular organization because they wanted to do the right thing, or let's use Antifa, for example, they're against fascists. So like, oh, look, this is a group that's against fascists. So I want to join a group that's against fascists. Oh, wait, you got violent thugs here? Okay, I'm not cool with that, right? But they're part of Antifa. So should I punish the person? It's like, no, I'm not cool with that violence. No, like I say, I will deal with that person as an individual, and the person committing the act of violence or vandalizing the property or looting or rioting, treat that person as an individual, and that is the person that did wrong. And I'm not going to collectivize the fact and try to make this person, like almost as if they're just one. Like, that's just ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. Meanwhile, the police who are engaged in racial profiling may be aware of data showing that African Americans are disproportionately represented in some crime statistics. They use this bit of information to unfairly stereotype the African Americans they encounter as potential criminals, leading to innocent people being stopped and questioned, at least partly due to the color of their skin. Every police interaction increasing the odds that one will end in tragedy. And exactly, right? Exactly. And we've seen, and I've heard, right? And I'm not even going to do any name dropping in particular, but we know there's a particular person that's a very prominent YouTuber, right? Especially among people that talk about liberty-oriented things, is that does talk about a lot of these racial disparities in terms of how many people are committing crimes, and based on statistics, it does seem that some of these inner city Black communities have a higher proportion or proportionality in terms of criminality or criminal activity, right? But once again, what does that really matter at the end of the day? What does that really matter at the end of the day? It's the individuals that matter at the end of the day. I would say it's probably the circumstance or situation that a lot of these people end up finding themselves in that might lead them down that path. And maybe you're getting, bad influence and stuff. But once again, we can talk about general stereotypes or generalizations, just as something to kind of banter about and kind of get a macro picture of things. But then once again, then you have to break it down to the individual when you're talking about policy or how you deal with these situations, or how things should unfold going forward. Because once again, I am completely and wholly against collective guilt or collective punishment. One of the goals of 20th century race liberalism was to chip away at distorted thinking created by the availability heuristic. We shouldn't evaluate individuals by stereotypes about groups created by limited information, liberals correctly argued. Yeah, that's what liberals used to do. But like I say, the people who identify as liberal today are anything but, which is why I refer to them predominantly, those ones who, like I say, espouse the rhetoric of collectivism are authoritarian collectivists or leftists. Right? Because they're definitely not liberals, not in terms of what the actual word means. If you look it up by, in an actual dictionary, by its defined meaning, not what other people want to pretend it means, right? Psychology research tells us that seeing people as individuals rather than as members of groups helps reduce social prejudice. Well, of course. And I don't need a psychology research or an expert to tell me that, right? Just my real world lived experiences told me that. The psychologist Susan Fiske showed exactly how easy this is if we put our minds to it. The psychologist Susan Fiske showed exactly how easy this is if we put our minds to it. In a 2005 neuroscience study, she found that when white participants saw photos of Black faces and had 2 seconds to judge whether the people in these photographs were over the age of 21, they showed activity in the area of the brain called the amygdala, which indicates a high level of alertness and emotional arousal. In other words, they saw a threat. but she discovered a neat trick to diffusing this automatic fear response. In some cases, her research team asked the white participants to judge what sort of vegetable the people in the photo would prefer to eat. In those cases, where they were prompted to see the people as individuals with their own personal tastes and preferences, the amygdala activity looked the same as when participants saw white faces, suggesting that they were able to individuate, that is, see the faces as individuals rather than group them into categories perceived as others, or into a category perceived as other, right? So it just goes to show you that those in the media, in the established media, right, and those who are part and parcel of the established ruling class, the political classes, I mean, what do you think, they don't understand this stuff? There's nobody in government and nobody in media has ever read an article such as this, or a study based on some of the psychological evaluations or these studies. Come on, they must be privy to this kind of knowledge or information. And if not, well, that shows you how much of a failure there are, no matter how you look at it. But I mean, come on. So the media, knowing this, me knowing this, even without actually reading this article, knowing that, yeah, then if you want to tamp down those flames of division and create some semblance of unity, that there's an easy and articulate way of doing so, which is being more nuanced in dealing with people as individuals rather than collectives. But that's not how the media portrays or presents these kind of stories. Now, is it? So are they doing it purposely with malicious intent? I don't know. I'm not in their minds. Maybe it's just to get some clicks, right? Maybe it's just to sensationalize things. Maybe they just like drama. I don't personally know, because I can't be inside the head of these people, these individuals, right? But I definitely am highly suspicious as to the reasoning behind the kind of divisive narratives that they're constantly promoting and espousing, because it's not helping us out in any way in trying to fix some of these problems that have been long established and definitely need to be corrected. Unfortunately, the process of individuating has come under furious assault in recent years. More and more elites in media and politics are encouraging us to think about ourselves as archetypes of groups rather than as individuals, right? Yeah, don't destroy the individual, folks. Collectivists love to destroy the very concept of the individual, right? And that is one of the most powerful tools in their belt, in their arsenal, is destroying the very pretense of an individual or individuality. Stereotyping about white people in particular is now not only accepted, but encouraged and seen as a political good. Every white person is expected to acknowledge that they have white privilege at all times, regardless of their class or personal background, and to affirm that it is impossible for there to be any situation in which non-whites ever enjoy any advantages over whites. And just reading that, I'm thinking about Trudeau bending the knee. Now, Trudeau is the epitome of that white privilege that some people suggest or espouse. But the fact that he's trying to do that as a means to try to bully or intimidate other Canadians to do the same and put them into that same kind of mindset where, oh, I'm an oppressor, when most of Canadians alive today haven't done anything personally to harm people from particular racialized groups. But like I say, this kind of collective guilt. It's not just towards the Black community. I mean, we've heard it too in terms of the murdered, missing, and Indigenous women and First Nations groups, constantly talking about, oh, it's the white people. No, it's statists, it's authoritarians, it's collectivists, it's the people who want to rule over you. Has nothing to do with their skin color. It has to do with their bad people who have bad intentions and lack serious morality or ethics, right? Because, yeah, I'm a white man, and, yeah, I don't recognize this privilege. I've never experienced this privilege that some of these people talk about. Okay. As I have written elsewhere, this is a problematic belief structure, not because it will usher in some kind of reverse Jim Crow that subjugates whites, but because it leads to a flattened image, effectively stigmatizing even the suggestion that whites might be disadvantaged or suffering. Exactly. It's just a way. Yeah, it's a way to completely deny or ignore the fact that I've had to go through my own particular kind of fucking hell in the last 10 years, thanks to the state and their mindless order followers or enforcers, right? But no, Bennett, no, somehow I guess I magically should be able to escape all this bullshit because my skin's white. Well, like I say, I am a perfect example of, nope, it's just not the case. This blinkered view of race and privilege can be particularly harmful to whites in situations where many are underprivileged. For instance, the white suicide rate is many times higher than the Asian, Black, or Latino suicide rate. Yeah, and how many people from, not just white, but I mean, lots of backgrounds suffer in silence. And especially nowadays, yeah, if you are a white person in particular, based on the media, like you probably don't even want to speak up, right? Why? Because you're not going to get you. Well, you know damn well how if you're a white person and you speak up, most people lack the courage. I speak up anyways. I just do it. I don't give a shit, right? That's just who I am. That's who I am. That is it. What it is to be banner hunters. I just speak my mind regardless. But think about a lot of people that won't. It's like, I'm not going to fucking say nothing. Damn, why? So the media will target me and say I'm just privileged and I should shut up and just go do what I have to do because you're just a privileged white male and you don't have any hardships. You don't have any issues. You don't have any systemic problems like the rest of it. Like, it's just such a failure on so many levels, right? And does cause so many harm. And not just to white people, but lots of people, right? Just ridiculous. That's why, like I say, playing this identity politics game, it's detrimental. But equally problematic is the way some on the left talk about members of ethnic minority groups as if we are simply virtuous victims, cast adrift on a plank in an ocean of white supremacy over which we had no control. Basically, everything in our lives is determined by the Leviathan of structural racism, a term that is both increasingly vague and even more expansively used to explain every feature of the social conditions of America. Right? Exactly. Collectivizing in that manner is just as detrimental as collectivizing in the opposite manner that was already used as an example, right? Yeah, this is terrible. This is terrible. And to put people in that victim mindset or mentality, and I see that as definitely something that's very prevalent for certain individuals or people within these groups, whether you're talking about First Nation people or black people in particular, right? Is think about it. The media constantly tries to portray them as just helpless victims that need the white man, big government, right? That's like how fucking that to me, that's just insane. If you're a black person or a First Nation person, man or woman, what the fuck? Don't let these dipshits fucking talk to you in such a demeaning way or disparaging way or suggest that you're just so helpless that, we gotta you gotta rest or rely on big government or what these elitists whether it's the Democrat Party or the liberals or the end dippers. What, you need the political or the ruling class to somehow bail you out or take care of you? No, they're the ones that are actually oppressing you, right? And they have many different people in those organizations, some of them that share your very same skin color, right? Because once again, it's about the ideas, not the color of the skin. So yeah, come on. To those who adopt this worldview, it may come as a surprise then that some of the worst racial disparities in marijuana arrests, for instance, can be found in locales where elected officials and those in power are overwhelmingly African-American Democrats, right? Like Atlanta, Georgia, yeah, where 90% of arrests for marijuana offenses in 2016 were of African-Americans. 90% arrests and I mean, come on. I mean, damn well, a lot of white people love the Mary Jane, right? The cannabis. So 90% of the arrests, and like I say, probably happening by a lot of black people, black police officers arresting black people in their community. Just like I say, causing harm to people for what? For what? Because they're consuming a plant? They're not doing anything violent. They're not committing any criminal activity. Any people say, oh yeah, but they might be selling drugs. So once again, that's a peaceful activity. It's a voluntary exchange. What's your point? It's hard to chalk this up only to racial profiling. One reason you see these disparities in low-level drug arrests is because there tends to be heavier political or policing overall in areas with more violent crimes. Across the United States, many of these areas tend to be heavily African-American and Latino. Police may be more heavily patrolling a certain neighborhood due to gun violence, but that doesn't mean that they won't arrest you for something as simple as a nonviolent drug crime, right? So once again, they're in there supposedly to look for the violent criminals or the thugs, but yeah, because their political master said, well, hey, we also want you to enforce these laws. Well, no doubt about it, that's definitely one of the major contributing factors, right? The leadership of Atlanta did not need to wait for a woke white savior to rescue them from 400 years of racism, a reductive phrase commonly employed by Democratic elites to explain basically every social phenomenon where ethnic minorities are involved. In 2018, Atlanta moved to decriminalize the possession of small amounts of marijuana. After all, you don't have to worry about the disparity in a social malady between two groups if you simply eliminate the malady. It's hardly a surprise that African American mayors like Atlanta's Keisha Lance Bottoms and Birmingham's Randall Woodfin were among the most unequivocal in condemning the looting and rioting committed by a small minority who exploited the chaos created by the George Floyd protests for their own ends. This is not because race has any essential characteristic. It obviously doesn't. But in the modern Democratic Party, liberal whites are increasingly encouraged to coddle ethnic minorities and deprive them of the humanity that comes with taking responsibility for our own actions, right? Well said. So it's also not a surprise that Seattle's Jenny Durkin, for instance, made pains to emphasize the number of white men engaged in violence in her city. In normal times, it would be wildly inappropriate to single out a racial group as especially violent. Yeah, right? But in the time of woke politics, white men are basically the only group that is granted the blessing of both power and responsibility for using it. If you want to stop violence, you have to, as the leadership in Minnesota attempted, blame it on white supremacists. Clearly, there have been some racists who, like looters, have tried to exploit the chaos caused by the protests to destroy property in black communities and egg on violent confrontations with police. But there is no proof at all that white supremacists have been anything more than marginal players in this drama. The disproportionate focus on outside white supremacists from both politicians and media figures is just another way of awarding white men agency. They're the ones who caused all the things we don't like to happen and denying it to ethnic minorities who remain perpetual victims. Exactly. Like I say, this very well articulated, great words that were written in this article. Very well put together. I'm really impressed with this one. I would be lying if I said I've never faced bigotry or discrimination as a result of being a Pakistani American Muslim. So now we know. So this lady, right? It was a lady, right? This individual, I should say, Pakistani American Muslim. So this is someone, like I say, this is what I'm looking for. Someone that's, talking about these kind of racialized incidents or issues in a proper and articulate manner, because obviously she's in a position that her voice can be heard. Whereas if it was a white male like myself, just brush me aside anything that I say because I'm privileged, right? But it's nice to see someone like this actually speaking up and saying basically the same things or reiterating basically the same kind of things that I would say. Although I will admit, even more articulate than I think I could do so. So kudos to that as well. But it never really occurred to me to think that But it never really occurred to me to think about the entire United States as antagonistic to my existence. Exactly. Now I'm starting to wonder if the coddling promoted by some of its elites will prevent liberals from seeing me as a fully human person. Right? Exactly. I mean, I've used the expression of like coddling, like smothering you to death. Like, yeah, some of these elitists, yeah, like I say, whether they smother you to death or they oppress you to death, either one, you end up dying, right? And either one's not a very good situation to be placed in. The far right often dehumanizes Muslims by portraying us as inherently violent. That's what the website Jihad Watch does. It's just a running hit list of some of my worst co-religionists. And by me standing up and saying that, yeah, not all Muslims, and I've had conversations in the past with some Muslim gentlemen and stuff. Yeah, once again, I've had a lot of, or at least a substantial portion of the people that used to follow me won't even talk to me anymore. Just by sheer fact that I reached out to talk to people from different backgrounds or from different races or colors, which really sickens me because I try so hard to stand up in defense of everyone's freedoms and liberties, only to have them, basically shank me in the back or turn their back on me for expanding that to all human beings, right? To all individuals. But I'm going to do it. They can turn their back on me all they want, but I'm going to continue to take a principled stance and on these positions because I realize how important it is, and that there are a lot of good people out there that are very appreciative to see that there are people like myself doing such things, as well as this fine person here. I learned But when I learned that British police were wary of investigating Pakistani child grooming gangs in the United Kingdom because they were fearful of angering the British Pakistani community and being labeled racist, I saw that as another form of dehumanization, this time from the left. Yeah. The left always tells us not to blame the victim, but victims, by definition, do not have social or political power. I want to have power, and you cannot have power unless it is paired with responsibility. Well said. Like I say, excellent. And that whole thing with the British police and investigating the child grooming, I believe, was that Tommy Robinson. And, you know, Tommy Robinson went through hell over there in the UK, and I believe he tried to point this stuff out and raise the alarm bells over some of these um, child groom gangs, which is, you know, like, come on, leave the goddamn kids alone, right? Like, but anyways, oh, here, let me read this at the bottom here. Zaid Gilani is a freelance journalist who has previously worked for UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center, the Intercept, and the Center for American Progress. Oh, he is a graduate of the University of Georgia and received his master's from Syracuse University. He's originally from the Atlanta area. Anyways, like I say, excellent article. I'm not sure if you'd ever see my video, but Zaid or Jelani, excellent article, and thank you for putting something like this out, because like it's very well articulated and gets a lot of points across that I believe should be stressed by not just people like yourself and me, but many others as well. So what do you think of that one, folks? Like I say, I thought that was pretty awesome article, and definitely touches down a lot of the points that I've been trying to hammer home on for a long time. Okay. Sorry, you're right, Little Miss. I know I should, right? I really should. Glasses are sexy now with all the eye correction. Just my opinion. Well, no, actually, some people do say that, so I get it. And you know what? You're right. I'm going to have to stop procrastinating, stop putting off the inevitable, and definitely do that. Anyways, I see a bunch of people up here talking about libertarians, and I love to see that. Not enough libertarians. Right on, MK. I'm with you there. And it seems like Missy is, or Little Miss Sodal, sorry, not Missy, Little Miss Sodal is as well. Corey W., I think more libertarians as the left right gets exposed and shown for what it is. Yes. Well, I believe that most people, the most decent people in Canada, anyways, if you explain them what a libertarian is, like the philosophy behind what a libertarian is, the ideas, the principles, I think most people would agree. Like, they believe in self-ownership, property rights, and the non-aggression principle, and, you know, treating each other the way you'd want to be treated, the golden rule, you know, economic prudence, and not stealing from people or economically enslaving. I'm fairly sure that most Canadians, right, would agree with those kind of premises or principles. So what it is the media and the ruling class have been busy forever, and now in particular that libertarians coming to the forefront and people are actually speaking and using that kind of term, it's being bantered and tossed around, is now the media is out in front trying to basically suggest that libertarians are bad people, right? Trying to kind of align libertarians with the right wing or the far right movements, right? Which now that won't work. Like I say, that won't work. Yeah, sure, you might find a few select idiots or individuals who like to identify as libertarian who are, in fact, some of those white supremacists or those far right type of activists, right? But once again, because libertarians are individuals, you can't play that game of collectivizing this, right? That's one thing with us libertarians, because we are libertarians, and at our core of our philosophy is the respect and adherence to acknowledging the individuals. Yeah, you can't label us with that collective broad brush and make it. Yes, we're kind of like Teflon in that way. It's just going to slide right off, because yeah, we don't deal in collectives or identity politics, right? No, we deal with each other as individuals. And that, once again, that is a very, very powerful idea that's at the core of libertarianism, and which puts us in a very strong position to counter some of these collectivists, these authoritarian collectivists. Like I say, ideas are very powerful, and the libertarian philosophy is right chock full of great ideas. But yes, Little Miss So-It-All, I'll definitely take your constructive criticism into account and start wearing the glasses so I don't butcher up these articles is bad, right? Racism is held on. Oh, let me take the. Sorry, folks, I should have took that off here. There we go. Racism is held onto because after that's done comes personal responsibility. Yes, yes, yes. Free choice causes most inequality as we don't and should not all choose the same path. Well said, Steve Lacrosse. Well said. Like I said, and I've even got I can't even think of it right now, but I've made multiple memes basically talking about, collectivism seeks to deny the individual because it removes personal responsibility. I think that's actually, I had that, isn't it? It might have been even pinned to my channel for the longest time. One of the memes I used with a picture that I'd taken of myself was, collectivists, they seek to deny the individual because it does literally destroy the whole premise of personal responsibility, right? Which, a lot of people are the bad actors. Yeah, they don't want you to be able to see them as the individual. You want to think of them as a group. So that way they can be more obscured and not held account for what they do, right? So 100% right on the money there, Steve. There are tricks of logic to break NPC program, typically by agreeing with them, one-upping them on their own liberal conservative knowledge. Well, that's actually good. That's good thinking, official blasphemy. I actually believe you're onto something there. Then claiming your view is actually more LC than, you know what? Well said, and well played. I agree. That is actually a premise that I believe will work one up in your virtue signaling, when they're trying to virtue signal in their way, one up them, say, I totally agree with you. Actually, I see where that would be very fruitful, and at least so that you're not immediately turning them away from you, because as soon as you get into it in a combative type of setting, then they're just going to try to shut you down and they're not going to listen to you. But I see what you're saying there, and that might very well prove to be an effective strategy. No doubt about it. Fat Fartland? What? Hey, what's going on, C-Mac? Oh, the upside down flag. Canada's definitely in distress. No doubt about it, C-Mac. No doubt about it. We're in distress here. Heck, Canada still hasn't figured out English and French yet. Personally, I don't care. My lady is English. Yeah, it's crazy, right? I know that there's so much animosity and fighting and bickering, just like you say, just from the fact that these are people that do share the same skin color, do share a lot of the European heritage and history. But look at the kind of fighting that takes place, just like you say, along just the language thing in Canada. So yes, I know collectivism is a terrible, terrible thing. And it's very destructive to the individual, right? I get you. Feel like a victim of racism the moment someone tells me I'm privileged. Yeah, no doubt. Don't judge by skin color. Makes sense to me. Canada's environment now very reminiscent of Russia prior to the Russian Revolution. Yeah. Yep. Sad reality. Sad reality. Yeah, really, as if it's racist to say all lives matter, right? That reminds me, and actually, I haven't really seen him say anything. I ended up befriending the guy back at the time. Remember the Remigio? What's his name? Remigio, the Four Tenors guy. Remember that dared to say all lives matter, dared to try to speak out, and obviously wasn't trying to be racist in any way. What was that during the whole? Was it the Colin Kaepernick thing or something? I don't know, but remember the Remigio, the Four Tenors guy, and all he did was, when they were doing, or was it something he said when they were singing the anthem? Yeah, remember he said something about all lives matter or something during the anthem or whatever. I might be butchering that a little bit because there's so much stuff. I can't remember everything 100%, folks. Sorry, I just can't. There's just so much stuff I deal with. But yeah, that Remigio guy, the Four Tenors guy, I have befriended him. But yeah, he was treated like crap, man. A lot of people, gave that guy hell, and for unneeded and unnecessary, because the guy was not trying to be racist in any way. He was just basically trying to say, like, can we just suggest that all lives matter? Can we stop racializing these kind of things, right? But yeah, it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing to see people's lives be harmed in such a way for all they really want to do. A lot of people like Remigio there was just trying to be a voice of reason, and what did he get as a consequence? Yeah, booted from his music group, and like I say, tarred and feathered by many of these elitist leftists on the social media platforms. It's crazy. Yes. No, they're not. They're not even anything close to a liberal. Otherwise, I would tend to get agree. I usually tend to agree. I get along fine with people that are actual liberals. I get along just great with actual liberals. So yeah, no, these people are not liberals. How dare you refer to my car with a feminine indefinite 50 filthy show? What? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, just say up yours. Oh, right. Let's see. The demise of the RCMP started about 4 years ago when they stopped hiring white males. What? Oh, come on. The only white males hired have been grandfathered in, meaning their parents was RCMP or military. Okay, so you're doing the exact opposite here. Like it's not about the skin color, right? It's just that you have a lot of bad people, right? And they keep lowering the standards, right? Anyways, it's like you just bad people. The standards have been lowered, and it's not just because of the skin color. Because, like I say, lots of white males are fucking assholes. The guys that treated me like shit, the ones that destroyed my life, were white. They looked just like me. Well, not exactly. They weren't nearly as good looking. I'm just kidding. Just kidding, right? But no, they shared my skin color. Like probably had same heritage and background. So I don't know. Like I say, I can't agree with the whole race thing. I don't. Sorry. You're entitled to your opinion once again, but I just don't agree with it. Brainwashing via social media, schools, news, movies, it's everywhere. Yeah, agreed. And it's actually at the core of a lot of the problems that we're suffering today. Not getting your ass whooped by a police officer is a privilege. Being able to get a job is a privilege. Not getting your ass whooped by a police officer is a privilege. Being able to get a job is anyways, welcome to the stream, LMNT115. That's quite the profile picture there. Ooh, scary. Anyways, yeah, welcome to the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, but not quite sure where you're going with that one. That seems a bit of a out of the blue. As a rule of thumb, anytime your emotional strings are being pulled, be critical of why. Yeah, folks often use emotion to manipulate each other. Yeah, 100%, 100%. Scrolling down to the bottom here, folks, because like I said, I got a few more things I want to cover before I tie this up. What are we at? An hour and 17 minutes. Oh, shoot. Hey, what the heck is this? Remigio Pereira. That's it. YouTube. Your YouTube name, your YouTube username is YouTube? How the hell did you pull that one off? Or is this real YouTube? Hey, welcome to my channel. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, thanks for joining the channel. How the heck did you get a YouTube as a username though? That's pretty impressive. But yeah, that's it. Remigio Pereira. Thank you for doing that. And actually, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. And if you are a part of YouTube, can you tell Susan to give me a break? I'm trying my best here. I'm trying to be a voice of reason. Like, get someone in YouTube to actually watch my videos, a few of them, and realize that no, I'm the guy that's trying to be the reasonable voice out there. I'm trying to use good common sense and logic and morality, and I'm trying to do the right thing here as best I can. So can you get them off my back, because it's hard as hell to try to do so with the kind of restrictions that I have to suffer and encounter. What's going on, Gato? Hey, nice to see Gato. Well, it's nice to see you. I'm always happy to see you in the stream, Gato, but I know it's an unfortunate situation as to why you have the ability to be in the stream. Although it is 12:51, you could be on lunch. Maybe you've sorted things out. I don't know, like I say, but based on what you were saying in the last time, apparently you've gone through an issue with your occupation, which I'm not happy for. I feel bad for you for that there. But anyways, I've never looked into it really. The criminal system doesn't bother me as I don't commit crimes. Yeah. Well, right. Considering a lot of things that people do are considered crimes these days. You wouldn't think I was committing a crime just by having a couple beer while I was out riding my ATV on a rural trail either, right? I would have never thought in my whole life that I was being criminal or had any criminal intent or there was any criminality to just out having a couple beer while I'm riding my ATV. Like I say, on a rural trail out in the middle of the sticks in New Brunswick. Never would have thought, but hey, that's the thing. They have criminalized so many things that most people would normally consider, wait a minute, that's not criminal. Well, yeah, the state says so. And once the state deems you a criminal, well, try fighting against it. I have, and I don't nearly have the tools or the money at my disposal. Well, basically the tools is the money or the lawyer. Like I didn't have the ability to buy my justice, because in reality, that's the only way you get justice. Well, either become a statist yourself, then you might have some semblance of justice, possibly, but even then it's not a guarantee. But if there's one thing that can almost guarantee or give you a much better chance of actually achieving success in terms of justice is if you got money. If you don't, justice is going to escape you, which is why people, like I say, they keep saying people in the Black community or the First Nation community, that's why it's so much injustice for them. Well, no, what it is not because of their skin color. It's because they're, like I say, they're not in a position to be able to defend themselves properly against that big giant monopoly of force of violence, aka the state, and just like me. So once again, it's not skin color, it's about your social economic status or situation. Those people, the people that don't have power, yeah, we know the feeling. Those who do, not so much, right? Not so much. As far as they're concerned, actually, it's almost like living in a state of anarchy. You can do whatever the hell you want, especially if you're part of the ruling class or connected to it. Yeah, you can run around, do anything you want and buy your freedoms or buy your justice, or get some favors from insiders to give you the justice that no one else would be afforded to, or people like myself would definitely never have it afforded to. My daughter turned in a wallet with money in it to the RCMP and was told they would keep it if the owner wasn't found. Who's the criminal? Yeah, right. I mean, if it's a wallet, wasn't there any ID? I mean, if the wallet had money in it, I can't imagine someone having a wallet with just money and no ID at all, or no way of finding. I guess, but yeah, that's terrible. That's terrible. Yeah, I like the way you think, Kaz. Ban the government, ban the tax collection. Time to think about what we're leaving our children. Well, what I would say is we just got to get people banning government. Government is a construct in our minds. So we just got to ban the ideas of having rulers. Like we can have people that can help organize society and be arbiters for when you have disputes or criminal activity takes place, just like we can have people that are people who keep the peace, right? And deal with like criminal activities. But once again, this thing called government, this monopoly of force violence, these people who use this premise, this entity that, like I say, is a human construct to allow certain individuals to escape the personal responsibility that all of us are held to. Yes, I'm with you. I'm against that. But just like with Nietzsche and the pretense of getting rid of God and his recognition or reflection on the fact that, damn it, we've killed God. Well, what are we going to replace it with? So I'm all for getting people's mindsets up to the evolution in terms of liberty and recognizing that government is like I say, a construct, an institution, just like slavery or just like monarchs in the past. That humans definitely need to move beyond and past, and we definitely need to put authoritarian collectivism and big government in the rearview mirror. But what we should do right now, rather than worrying about trying to get rid of it entirely, because that's not going to happen. As a libertarian, philosophical libertarian, yes, I don't believe in the mysticism of heaven rulers. I don't believe in that nonsense at all, but most of my Canadian counterparts do. So unfortunately, we can't necessarily throw out the baby with the bathwater until, like I say, we've made sure that we have a way to manage society and have these things and these issues be able to be dealt with. Like when you're talking about crime, protecting the borders and all that stuff, right? We need to build up the infrastructure and offer these alternative solutions and options before we get to the point where we're just going to like vacate the state or remove that premise entirely. So and that's something I think that actually is taking place right now. And you're definitely seeing a lot of people in the private sphere or the private sector who are showing, and with these smart contracts and blockchain technology, we're showing time and time again, or they are showing, and I'm helping to explain and show to people is, yes, you can definitely, all those services that you think you need government for, we can show you that you can have them without government at all. So like I say, offer alternatives and options and let humans gravitate towards something that's more conducive with allowing individual freedom and liberty to flourish. And then the state will just vacate by itself. And it's like, at some point in time, we'll all be like, oh yeah, remember that? Remember when we used to believe in government and the state? Oh yeah, I'm so glad that that's all basically like collecting cobwebs and dust and just a long or a thought that's been completely removed from most people's mind. I hope we get to that point at some point in time, but it's not going to be anytime soon, I don't think. But great thinking. I like the way you think, Kaz. I definitely like the way you think. Oh, it's Greg. Greg Hessian. Oh, you got it. That's pretty wild. Thank you very much, Greg. I really appreciate it. Actually, Greg was one of the gentlemen, the PPC candidates that I did have an interview with. I think we had a pretty good conversation, if I remember correctly at the time. But yeah, thank you very much. And I appreciate you joining the stream there, Greg. And like I say, you're always welcome if you ever want to talk about or discuss anything with me again. Like I say, I'm always willing to bring anyone on to have a discussion. But thank you very much. Appreciate that. The username, that's quite wild. Okay. What's this? Dismounts from what the what? I don't even know what that means. Right? Wait, what? Wait, what? Okay, ideological collectivism is always a genocidal ideology. For some, an identifiable group must always be held accountable for its shortcomings. Right on, line in the sand, right on. Well said. So against authoritarian collectivism. Such a detriment to all human beings, right? Okay, I see D Lee is in the stream. Let's check out what's D Lee's saying. If your culture is different from someone else's, then you are racist, but only if you're white. Right on. I still can't believe they burned their own cities down. I know, like, that's the thing. Especially these store owners. If the store owners didn't do anything to you, why would you want to cause harm to people that didn't do anything? Like the police station, you can kind of understand like the line or the line of reasoning behind that, right? That kind of makes sense to a certain degree, not 100% entirely, but you can kind of at least see where you can get from one point to the next, right? But yeah, burning down or looting or causing damage to private business owners, and particularly if some of these business owners are black people in their own communities that serve the community, like how terrible is that, right? Like that's causing harm to people that, once again, you're just doubling down and making even more victims that way. So I don't know, that stuff, it just seems so crazy, doesn't it? You can't imagine, like, would it be locals that would do that stuff? I suppose some, once again, but it does seem foolish. The ones that were grandfathered in, Bennett. Well, like I say, no, listen, I totally get, if, like I say, even if for you, if you want to clarify your position on anything, or if you find I misrepresent you in any way, always just reach out to me. Like I say, because one thing I don't want to do, especially when you're reading comments, is I can't know 100% the nuance behind what you're putting in just, like a sentence or two. It's just like being on Twitter, right? So if I'm ever misrepresenting your views in any way, either try clarifying it in subsequent follow-up comments, or like I say, I'll bring you on the channel anytime you want, and you can clarify your position. Okay. If the left stopped race baiting, most of the racial conflicts we see today just exactly 100%, God, though 100%. If they would stop that fucking shit, we would be so much further ahead of the game at this point in time in trying to tamp down a lot of these racial tensions, right? Because then people like myself wouldn't be overlooked and obscured, because the media is the one that gets all the attention with their kind of sensationalism. Because people do like to be driven by drama and division, right? But or the media likes to manipulate in that way. The whole race thing is divide and conquer, so the Democrats and JT liberals alike can ride hate to the pole. That is so true, D. Lee. That is true. That is very true statement right there. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. I would not doubt that. Hey, Greg. Okay. Hey, Bennett. I went to high school with Remigio. Oh, cool. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know him obviously from a hole in the ground, but yeah, thanks for letting us know about that, Greg. But yeah, I don't know him from a hole in the ground personally, other than like, Facebook friends, but you know how that works. I don't even use my personal page, so I don't see much of even what he posts. Actually, that might be why I'm not seeing much because I use my Canadian Libertarian Facebook page. I don't really use my personal page for really much other than a couple things with some family members and stuff, right? But yeah, from what I know of the man and what I've seen when I do see some of his posts and stuff, yeah, he seems like a really genuine, sincere guy, an upstanding guy. So yeah, I thought it was terrible what they did to him. Hopefully he's doing well and has put all this stuff past him, which I would imagine he has. Yeah, you're preaching to the choir right there, Greg Hessian. Decentralize everything. Yeah. Yeah. Centralized power is definitely at the core of the problems and the issues because, yeah, I mean, like I say, if we were more decentralized people that are more libertarians, like why do we have to fight amongst each other? Freedom of association. If you're libertarian, can't we have places where it's like this is a libertarian type of place? Libertarians like to be in this particular place. If you don't like to be a libertarian, well, you do your thing. You so like but we could still cohabitate and go commingle if we want. But it just means that you should have places that people should have the freedom to associate, right? Because we could get into situations because how else are you going to lead by example, right? When people say, well, what would a libertarian society look like? Well, how about you allow people to set up something akin to a libertarian society so they can actually show you with a real world example? But that's the thing. Government wants to micromanage and dictate every aspect of our life and tell us where we can live, what we're allowed to do, how we're allowed to think, what we're allowed to stand behind, what we're allowed to promote. Like they dictate everything about us. So we can't even do any social experiments to show what will work for some. And that's the other thing. Libertarianism might not necessarily work for everyone, right? But we'll never find out who it would work for or how conducive it would be in Canada for whether it's localities or provinces or the entire jurisdiction of Canada, unless we're given the ability to experiment in some way, right? So yeah, I agree with that. Decentralize, decentralize, decentralize. Attacking business owners show that these riots are not about being outraged. All they want is free shit, and they don't think long term because they're killing their economic opportunity. Well, some of them are for sure, like for sure, the ones that were doing that. So yes, 100%. But there were peaceful protesters too. That's why we gotta sort the differences out between them because some of them were the violent, definitely opportunists, like you're suggesting, Gato. But there were a lot of people, I'd say, even more people who were just out there protesting. So what the left fears the most is the coming together of the people, blacks, whites, cops, and civilians. That would be freaking amazing. Like I say, and especially when you're talking about cops, like I'm still waiting for it. I'm hoping that these people exist, but in Canada, I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing people, like just average citizens, right? From all different colors and backgrounds that are standing in solidarity with each other, at least attempting to. But where are these Canadian police officers? Can you at least give me an example? Because I would like to, even if it's only one, at least it'll give me something to try to build upon. But like I say, I've seen examples of American police officers or sheriffs or people who are in law enforcement in the U.S. or even in the military standing in defense of like the oppressed, whether it's the minorities or all the oppressed people, and say, no, I won't follow out the orders of the politicians. I won't, cause harm to people just because a politician told me to do so. I'm a police officer to keep the peace and to treat people in a proper manner. Like if I could see that happening in Canada, and if we had actual police officers that were brave and bold enough to, like I say, make YouTube videos or be willing to come on my own channel. Like I say, if you know anyone, Greg, please reach out to them because I'm always willing to give anyone the chance and the optics of a police officer in Canada being willing to come on to a channel like myself and say, no, I don't agree with the kind of things that the politicians try to tell us to do. And I'm going to stand in solidarity with the people and, push back against the kind of authoritarianism that's so present and dominant throughout the political class and enforced by their ruling class or their enforcer class, right? If we can get some of those people, like I say, I would love to see, I'd be part and parcel of trying to get these people some attention if I can. But I really don't see it in Canada, Greg. I hope so. Like I say, I'm hoping. I always hold out hope, and maybe someday I will see that example. and be proven wrong. This is one area where I would love to be proven wrong. I'm not, and I haven't yet, but I really, really would love to be proven wrong in terms of how I perceive of most police officers in this country, or pretty much all of them, because like I said, I just don't see any of these isolated examples of these police that are standing up and doing the right thing. And if they were, you would think that the media would be covering it, right? I mean, come on, wouldn't the media be trying to cover it in some way, or someone in the like, on YouTube be covered? Like, I don't know. Anyways, like I say, moving on. It's fake. The Floyd thing proves I'm not sure what you're saying is fake there, Ibitas. Floyd had no mask. Floyd had no mask. Not sure what any of that means. The people in the car had no mask. Oh, there's definitely bad actors for sure. But once again, like I say, we got to lead by example and deal with people as individuals. Anyways, okay, so back up. I'm going to bring up another article. This one was by Chris Sully. Where are we at here? 1 hour and 35. So yeah, I got 25 minutes. I'm going to try and tie this up, like say, before the 2 hour mark. So let's get straight to it. Shall we? Shall we? Yes, we shall. Yes, we shall. Because yeah, I'm really impressed to see some media outlets in Canada. Now, like I say, it's the typical Post people who are contributors to the Post, whether it's the National Post or the Financial Post, who typically do, like I say, they have at least a few, could be upwards of a half a dozen contributors to the Financial Post and the National Post who are just excellent, and the Toronto Sun I'll even add as well, at trying to hold power to account. Unlike the leftist media, the ones that are perceived as somewhat right-leaning in Canada because they're not in power, they're at least trying their best to be relevant and showing that they're holding power to account. So that's the thing. When you're connected, not so much of an incentive to do so. But when you're not so connected with the current ruling class, there's more of incentive for you to try to hold them to account and become relevant, which is something that's, like I say, definitely taken place by many of the contributors of Post Media. Whether it's for good reasons or bad reasons, I'm just glad to see it taking place. So yeah, there's this headline article of the National Post contributed by Chris Sully. And I believe, doesn't Chris Sully, I believe he might contribute to the Toronto Sun as well, right? The end of policing as we know it, hopefully. If your problems are so relevantly minor, why do we struggle to fix them? Why is outfitting Canadian police with body cameras that can't be turned off such a challenge? Right? So like I say, this is contributed by Chris Sully, June 5th, 2020. Watching from afar as parts of the United States appears to teeter on the precipice of something historically awful, it's tough to put a finger on what seems so different this time around. Certainly one would expect a president at a time like this to preach calm and unity, but then no one would expect President Donald Trump to do that. Some police departments seem more enthusiastic than usual in deploying their material, but that's a difference of a degree, not kind. It's entirely right that the killing of George Floyd should have sent citizens into the streets in protest. But then Americans are by now well used to seeing police officers and their fellow citizens' lives in flamboyantly unjustified circumstances. Floyd's death was essentially a rerun of Eric Garner's 2014 killing at the hands of the New York Police Department. Yet Americans seem unusually united across the political spectrum in thinking Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin very much deserves his murder charges. If that might be good news, there's little sign what it would take to transform that sentiment into meaningful reform, namely political will to fundamentally reimagine American policing. Nominally progressive New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, especially at times, seems almost terrified to criticize his own department, even for obvious excesses. Meanwhile, it's the attacks on journalists that strike me as the most ominous, the most pretentious. Attacking journalists is seen as a sort of civilizational dividing line. The fact that reporters are exempt from curfews in several American cities reflects that. Yet we have seen police in Washington, D.C. needlessly attack an Australian cameraman, police in Ohio and Minnesota pepper spray journalists, even as they showed their credentials. Police in Minneapolis fire rubber bullets at a CBS News crew that wasn't even in the middle of any action. A journalist's safety matters no more than anyone else's, but it suggests American police forces feel even more immune from sanctions than before. or that they're past caring. Either way, it's a terrifying thought. It is especially maddening spectacle because there is no population on Earth less temperamentally suited to being treated like this, and no population on Earth better equipped to prevent it. At the end of April, police stood idly by while heavily armed men effectively occupied the Michigan State House, albeit legally. Now, peacefully unarmed protesters are taking it on the chin, and many Americans think they know why. The Michiganders were white and weren't protesting on a dead black man's behalf. But another major difference is that the Michiganders were well armed, as are Americans in general. I'm not arguing for armed insurrection. I'm against it. Against. But if the Americans who bear the brunt of police violence could ever join forces across racial lines, I suspect the United States would be a very difficult country indeed. So there it is right there, contained in just one nice little paragraph. Now I get it, Chris. You tried your best in Canada because you know the freedom of speech lines that we got here, right? So I get it. Well done. Obviously, you understand the legality and how to skirt those lines so that you can articulate your message, without, getting any legal pushbacks or the thought police, coming after you. But yeah, basically what he's suggesting or alluding to is something I alluded to in my past stream as well. And that's the whole point of the U.S. Being founded with the second Constitution enshrined and made sure that it could not be infringed is yeah. The big difference between, the protests in Michigan and a lot of the other protests that are taking place is the Michigan folks, like I say, they showed up, they were peaceful, there were no threats, but they were well armed and they were serious. And the political class and their order followers recognized that. They seen that spectacle for what it was, and it's like, oh no. See, they might be a little bit emboldened to slap you down, kick you around, or tase you, or fire a rubber bullet if you're standing there with a sign peacefully, or if you're just chanting, Black Lives Matter or no justice, no peace, or you're standing in their face and yelling at them. They'll be very much emboldened to use their authority over you. But if you're standing there well armed, right? Let's say with an AR-15 strapped across your shoulder, on your back, whatever. Well, now they recognize that there's some kind of equality here now. Now there's an armed person and another armed person stand before each other. Now the equalization is truly taking place. And now you're going to see how they're going to treat you, right? A little different then. And that is the whole point and premise behind the Second Amendment in the United States, folks. No, it wasn't about hunting rights, right? Not at all. No, it was for the people, the citizens of that country, to be able to protect themselves from violent oppressors, whether they're foreign or domestic. And that is something that definitely needs to take place. And like I said, just like Chris here, I'm against any violent resurrection, but I'm wholly in support of people standing up in defense of their inherent rights to defend themselves. And in Canada, yes, you have a right to defend yourself. Whether the government wants to acknowledge that or not, well, once again, you can ask them, or you can show them that, no, we demand, right? You have to acknowledge and respect our inalienable inherent rights and freedoms. And because they're inherent and inalienable, I'm willing to defend them. I won't use preemptive force or violence, but I will defend them. And I've got the means to do so. That's the message that needs to be sent to the ruling class and their order followers. And once again, it's only about defense, not preemptive use of force. Got to clarify that in case anyone wants to try to play politics with what I'm trying to say. The Fatal Encounters database maintained by Nevada journalists. Anyways, folks, yeah, actually, this is just going to get into statistics and stuff. And like I say, there's lots of other articles that we can use for that. So like I said, I thought that was actually the most important part of that particular article, was the fact that, yes, that's what needs to, and the end of policing as we know it, hopefully things will finally change. And I'm hopeful as well. I am hopeful as well. Now, just to show. Now that's, like I say, that would be a contributor who might typically, or I would suggest, identify as someone either center left, or sorry, as center right or on the right side of the political spectrum. But like I say, this is an area, this is a very, very unique and rare opportunity where people from both sides of the political aisle or divide are actually showing that they're in somewhat unison or speaking with the same typical voice in terms of how to hold the enforcers to account. And I'm surprised to see it from the CBC, but yes, even the CBC, of course, because you're talking about the police, right? One thing about the leftists are definitely on side with the right wingers, or sorry, not so much right wingers, but libertarians in particular, in terms of being against police brutality. And why? Because people on the left look to be the protectorates, like was being discussed and described in the article I originally, the protectorates of the victim, the people they deem as the victim groups, right? So once again, even now, people that I would normally perceive as my enemy in terms of how they believe or think in terms of liberty are actually seeming to be on the same side as people like myself, and even contributors such as Chris Sully from the right side of the political spectrum. So good stuff. But let me just show you what this one that CBC brought up. Because yeah, I'm actually amazed to see this, even because, you know, if you watch my stream with me and my son that we did, and if you haven't already, check that out. It's on this YouTube channel. It's also on our Liberty Hunter podcast channel. But look at this. What were we talking about? Defunding the police. And what is this? Defunding the police from CBC of all places, right? Defund the police could mean replacing officers with social workers. So, of course, not like, that's the thing. It's not like CBC is going to promote reducing the state. No, they're just going to replace some state actors with different state actors. So once again, it is the CBC at the end of the day. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, they're even putting forth the pretense of potential for defunding the police. Unbelievable, right? And of course, says expert. Calls to defund the police have been growing as people protest police brutality in the U.S., Canada, and around the world. Alex Vitale, author of The End of Policing, explains what defund the police might look like. So let me close that one up because, yeah, like I say, another article dealing with this exact thing, but once again, from a more right leaning outlet, once again, the National Post, speaking in solidarity with each other, basically headlines almost akin and aligned with each other, right? Make sure you folks can see that. Yeah. So like I say, let me close up some of these things. What the deuce? Close this stuff. Dang. Callum Marsh. Defunding the police isn't... Oh, shit. The video started playing automatically. Hey, what the hell? Wait a minute. What? That's my son. What the heck is going on here? Okay, that is really weird. How is my son... Okay, you folks are seeing this, right? What? How is this possible? How is this possible? I got to make sure you guys can see that. Yeah, you can, right? You can see that. Can you guys see that? That's my son. He does gaming videos. But how the hell is my son in the National Post article? Is it an ad? No, it can't be. No, because it's 24 minutes out of 36 minutes. What the heck? I'm so glad that this is being recorded. What? I'm going to have to go back and look at this. So this was at the 1 minute and 48. 1 hour and 48. This is wild. How in the hell is my son, his streamed video game? Like I say, it can't be. No, it can't be. It can't be an ad, because an ad wouldn't be 36 minutes long, right? What the hell? Anyways, let me pause this. That's so weird. That is so weird. A couple of his other videos I see too. What the heck is going on? Anyways, wow. So did I read the actual? Yeah. So Callum Marsh, defunding the police isn't radical. Sorry. Yeah, that's weird, right? Callum Marsh, defunding the police isn't radical. It's so lucid, it's a wonder it took a movement to catch on. This is not a position easily understood. It requires seriously rethinking our assumptions around law and order, community, justice, and civic responsibility. So I agree. Holy crap. Let me close this thing. Wow. Callum Marsh, June 6, 2020. In the wake of the killing of George Floyd at the hands or knee of Derek Chauvin and the Minneapolis Police Department, demonstrations have been mounted across the United States and in major cities throughout the world in protest of police brutality, excessive use of force, and systemic racism and violence towards Black people, typified by Floyd's seamless, tragic death. In Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Halifax, and other Canadian cities, protesters marched in solidarity with the American demonstrators, as well as to protest the death of Regis Korchinski-Paquette, a Black Indigenous woman who fell from her balcony in late May, whose family is pursuing the claim that her death was caused by Toronto police. So that was a very strange story, right? That was definitely strange. I'm still amazed at this. That's just wild. I'm just surprised. These demonstrations, some of the largest and most sustained in recent history, are about more than demanding justice for George Floyd, which, as a direct consequence of protest, has already been partly achieved. All 4 of the officers involved in his death have been fired and now face criminal charges. Good stuff. Good to see that some justice has finally taken place, right? What's being called for now is comprehensive, fundamental, even revolutionary change. Right on. I shared this with my son, Matt, of course. The United States and, of course, Canada has a problem with racism and criminal justice. The solution isn't reform, it's to defund the police. Well, like I say, the racism thing, okay. But like I say, can we stick with, like I say, this stuff happens to people from a lot of backgrounds or different skin colors. So don't have to necessarily bring the race into it, but I kind of get why it is. Anyways, this is not a position easily understood. It requires seriously rethinking our assumptions around law and order, community, justice, and civic responsibility. Defunding the police represents an effort to confront the problem, not by making minor adjustments, but by completely reimagining the role of the institution itself. An idea once considered radical, defund the police, has suddenly been propelled by this movement into the mainstream. Los Angeles has decided not to move forward with a planned increase in police spending and, in fact, will reduce the police budget by upwards of $150 million. In Minneapolis, where the protest began, City Council President Lisa Bender says the city intends to dismantle the police department and replace it with a transformative new model of public safety. Beautiful! That's how you do it. That is how you do it. Out with the old, in with the new, right? Because, yeah, like you're not going to reform these things. Like, no, like I say, sometimes you just, like I say, it's just so entrenched and so institutionalized that, yeah, no, you don't try to rebuild from the ground up. Sometimes you really do. Got to take it all the way down to the foundation and start all over. Start from scratch. And you know what? In this particular example, in this particular case, and when you're talking about something, you know, as important as those are out there carrying guns and actively enforcing or attempting to deal with criminal activity, these people, we need to hold these people to a high standard. And like I say, if reform was possible, it would have done, you know, since what, the 60s movement, the civil rights movement in the 60s, what do you got, 80 years now? No, come on. If almost a century goes by and you still can't reform it, even after as big a movement that took place in terms of the civil rights movement in the 60s, if that didn't do the trick, well, no. Like I say, now it's time to start anew. And if you're worried about, well, if there's no one around to protect me, hey, this is one of those times where you might want to get a little bit more comfortable with personal responsibility and your ability to defend yourself and those you love, right? Try getting a little accustomed to that, because you don't necessarily need to look to cops who are minutes or an hour away when crime is happening in the here and now, right? So people who rely on the cops to defend you or protect you from bad things from happening is like, you really do live in a wishful world. You're quite utopian in your thinking if you believe that people who aren't literally, you know, standing and watching over your back or at your front door 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't know how the hell you think that they can protect you from bad people doing bad things. But anyways, but if you have the ability to do it yourself or someone in your household does, well, that'll work much better, obviously. fact will replace okay. Okay. What does defund the police actually look like? Alex S. Vitale in his extraordinary book, The End of Policing. So see, they're reading that, they're quoting from this exact same books. So the CBC and National Post. So it looks like it would be a book, if you're into reading, definitely one that would be worth picking up and check it out. I'll probably see if I can't do the same. The End of Policing outlines the necessary changes so clearly and lucidly that the concept starts to look simple. He begins by identifying the most flagrant issues: the militarization of law enforcement, the criminalization of homelessness and most sex work, the you versus them attitude instilled by training academies, the school to prison pipeline, the useless and malign war on drugs. Exactly. All of these things I definitely agree with. And something, like I say, could definitely play a huge role and have a huge effect on society going forward if we could get these situations remedied sooner rather than later. Police officers in North America are tasked to do too much. They're trained to see themselves as warriors and other people as potential threats to be contained or eliminated. Right? Exactly. They target Black and other non-white people as rates that are wildly disproportionate. There's not enough transparency and next to no accountability. Well, that's all true. That's all true. Like I say, not absolutely necessary to bring the race in it, but once again, I understand why he's doing so. Reforms remain paramount for the suspension of paid administrative leave for cops under investigation, for new and better training that emphasizes de-escalation in community relations. Yeah. How many cops they get charged with these things and sit for years on paid leave? Paid leave, right? Unbelievable. But these reforms, although I kind of get innocent until proven guilty, right? Okay. Even if you want to make the argument, okay, we're going to put them on paid leave, but if they're proven guilty, all right, well, then shouldn't they have to give it all back? Right? Okay. But you never see that take place, do you? There's ways to get out from underneath that kind of bullshit, right? It's just that obviously there's not much of incentive on the inside to do so, which is why you need people, external people who aren't part and parcel of these institutions. You need outsiders, because reform is not going to take place from within, because, like I say, if it was going to do so, it would have been happened, or what would have happened long before now. But these reforms, Vitale argues, must be part of a larger vision that questions the basic role of police in society. The larger truth about law enforcement is that these problems are too fundamental to iron out like wrinkles. They're part of the fabric of the police. Most of the critical reforms would be ignored, resisted, or overturned, while cops will continue to reproduce their political power by fanning fear of the poor, non-white, disabled, and dispossessed, thereby further centralizing and empowering the institution. The problem is that most reforms expand the reach of policing. The most recent changes introduced to reduce police brutality and help improve community relations, such as body cameras, civilian review boards, and community policing programs, have merely amplified the scale of the police and increased police funding, affecting no real change in how cops approach their jobs. Right on. Right on. That's the beautiful thing. That's the beautiful thing of having market-driven incentives to try to deal with these situations, is find out which one works best, right? Which means you need to try multiple experiments or examples. As Vitale points out, more money, more technology, and more power and influence will not reduce the burden or increase the justness of policing. What will is smarter investment in planning, developing robust mental health care, and creating low-income housing systems, or create real avenues out of poverty and social isolations in neighborhoods with high concentrations of crime. Wherever the idea of defund the police is raised, crime is always the immediate objection. Without cops, who will protect us? Who will prevent thieves from stealing, violent criminals from running amok, murderers from eluding justice? But defunding or even abolishing the police entirely doesn't mean that no one should investigate murder. Exactly. It simply acknowledges that a very, very small percentage of cops are involved in murder cases to begin with, and that the overwhelming majority of cops are involved day to day with situations that are plainly unequipped or ill-suited to deal with. Exactly, right? Exactly. Well said. Well said. The alternative proposed is simple. Someone is sleeping on a park bench. Instead of a cop, a city employee comes by and offers shelter. Someone is doing drugs in public. Instead of a cop, a substance use professional intervenes and determines if they need help. Someone is shouting and behaving erratically on the street. Instead of a cop, a social worker trained in dealing with people with mental health mental illness approaches and calms them down, guiding them home or bringing them somewhere for assistance. Earlier this week, an Indigenous woman named Chantel Moore in Edmundston, New Brunswick, was shot and killed by police who had come to perform a wellness check at the request of a concerned boyfriend. Does it make sense for an armed cop to perform a wellness check? No. Now, like I say, now we're getting down into this. So obviously these people still, I'm completely agreeing on the idea, but they're trying to use the state as a way to fund it. So they're still trying to make this government initiative, which I get what you're saying, and I think it would still be a better option if someone said, well, it's this or what we have currently. This is 100%, maybe even more than that. Better, way better idea, way better option. And if I'm going to be taxed to pay for these things involuntarily, I'll add, against my will, this would be much better. I would prefer, if someone's going to steal from me to pay for a government service, I'd prefer this over the way things are currently done. But why can't we have private businesses? Like, come on. We've already shown that private businesses can do anything. You got SpaceX, Elon Musk, a private business has put the first private business in history that's put men in space. If a private business can put men in space and dock with a space station, outside of the realm of Earth's atmosphere, if they can do that, pretty sure private companies can figure this stuff out as well. And the beautiful thing about having private companies or private actors involved is that is a way to hold them account and withdraw your support if they're not doing what you want. If it's a government institution or entity, whether it's a cop or a social worker, do you have the ability to withdraw your support? No, because it comes by way of taxation, force, #taxation is theft, right? So no, it still should be placed in the hands of private individuals or private actors or private organizations. But hey, like I say, this is at least a better option than the current alternative. Anyways, I'm going to tie this one up because, like I say, it's great article. Like I say, all this stuff will all be linked in the stream of this, in this stream. So if you want to use it as evidence for anyone that might push back against this stuff, like I say, it's all here. Not only is what I got to say, obviously recorded and captured. Oh crap, I closed it. I was going to keep that open. Okay, but I recorded it. Damn it, I was going to keep that open and do a screen capture. Damn it. I should have kept it. Anyways, whatever. Too late now. So anyways, let's get back into the stream. See, still got 22 peeps left in there. Right on. Awesome. Glad to see some peeps are still in the stream here. Not boring y'all too much. Okay, what do we got here? I see Jess. Yep, yours. What do we got here? I think it's just you guys talking back and forth a lot here. Oh, actually, you know what? I do want to cover that, actually, because they were mentioning that BC woman or that NB woman, that New Brunswick woman. So let me cover that real quick here first then. Because, yeah, that article did reference it, and I have it pulled up here, so I might as well deal with it as well, right? So I'll make sure you can see that. Yep. So this is that case that, like I say, they referenced momentarily in this just past article I was reading. BC woman fatally shot by police in New Brunswick. Is it Scott Brown and Tiffany Crawford? I guess are the contributors to this article that was uploaded and published June 5th, 2020. Family members in Tofino have identified the woman as Chantel Moore, a mother of a 5-year-old girl. A 26-year-old BC woman is dead after she was shot by police in New Brunswick early Thursday morning. Family members in Tofino have identified the woman as Chantel Moore, an Indigenous woman and mother of a 5-year-old girl who had just moved to New Brunswick from Port Alberni a few months ago. A GoFundMe webpage has been set up to help Moore's family. Police in Edmundston, New Brunswick say at around 2:30 a.m., officers received a request to check on Moore's well-being at an apartment building on Canada Road in Edmundston. Police say she was holding a knife and threatened the officers. At first, the officer went on scene, and all of a sudden, the person just exited the apartment with a knife and was attacking the officer. Edmundston Police Force Inspector Steve Robinson told CBC News on Thursday. He had no choice but to defend himself. Like, first of all, I mean, Okay, let me go back up here. Oh, just based on, I mean, it's not a full body picture, but right. I mean, even if she had a knife, really? Gun was your only option? No taser, no billy bat, no just even your fisticuffs, no tripping her, no leg sweep, no, I don't know, anything? There's literally nothing you could have done other than pump 5 fucking bullets into this woman, huh? Really though? Like I say, what kind of a fucking coward piece of shit? I mean, like, even if I was completely and wholly unarmed and this lady came at me with a knife, it might be a little freaky. I think I'd be okay. And like I say, that would me being completely unarmed, not standing there with what? Body-proof vest on. Like I say, taser, fucking billy bat. I mean, who knows whatever other fucking weapons at their disposal. Probably steel-toed boots on, right? Like, come on. Like, really though? No other way to deal with that little woman running at you. And the way it's described you. So they just knocked on the door and she ran out with a knife or something? Really? Seems there's probably going to be a little bit more of the story than that, right? But anyways, pathetic excuse. Fucking cops, like these little wiener fuckers, like the little man syndrome. A lot of them are turning into cops, man. A lot of them are turning into cops. The little man syndrome, and the worst thing you want, the scariest proposition you can think about, is those fucking dipshits with little man syndrome giving them a gun and a badge and send them out to deal with the people in Canada. Wow, bad idea. Moore died in the apartment, according to police. I don't believe this. They were going there to check on her, not kill her. Grace Frank, Moore's grandmother, said in a Facebook post, self-defense is what the police officer says, and she is not here to defend herself. I don't believe. Nora Martin, Moore's aunt, described her great niece as a kind, gentle, and loving person and had trouble believing she would charge at an officer with a knife. It's very out of character. Chantel didn't have a mean bone in her body, said Martin, who works as community health liaison with the Tilaquet First Nation. As far as I'm aware, she never had any trouble with the law. Anyways, folks, like I say, yeah. So I guess her boyfriend, who was in Toronto, had asked the police to check on her because she complained to him that she was being harassed by someone. And what she get? Killed by a police officer, right? Unbelievable. I bet. And if you think about the boyfriend, think about how he's going to have to feel after that, right? Because he's the one that called the police to come there, and now she's dead. Wow, right? That's rough. There's people who are going to go through some harsh times. So let me close up the defund of the police. And just to make sure, like I say, it's not just brown people. It's not just black people. It's not just First Nations people. Just to reiterate and clarify that, I know I've gone a little bit over the 2 hours, but this is important. So just to clarify that, it's white people too. And innocent white people as well, right? So here's this one. There's this gentleman with his wife that was fatally shot by police in New Brunswick. Fucking RCMP. I think it was RCMP here too. It's like, like I say, if you live in New Brunswick, well, you know it. And I've talked to a lot of fellow NBers. We all know it. If you're an NBer, you know it. The RCMP, and yes, I would say all, because like I say, show me the ones that aren't, that are standing up or railing to have their counterparts in the police services or in the RCMP, charged criminally for all the corruption that they're doing. You're not seeing it, right? So if you're not speaking up about it and you're part of a criminal organization, you're actually part of the criminal organization, you're being paid by that criminal organization, and you're actively following through on the orders and the mandates and edicts by the corrupt politicians, then I don't know how you can square that round peg and pretend that you're on the side of justice or a good cop in any way. No. In order to do so, that means you have to be willing to put down your badge, walk away from that institution, and stand in solidarity with the people who are being wrongfully oppressed and treated like second-class citizens in this country. If you're doing that, then you're a good cop. But then at that time, you're no longer a cop. Or if you're suing your own police force for what they do because you have insider knowledge and you become a whistleblower. If you're one of those people, once again, then I would say you're a good cop. But once again, I'm not seeing any examples of that coming to light as of yet. Hopefully we will at some point in time. 20 Seconds was the name of this, and it was a really big article. I won't read it all, but just to give you an idea what happened here. Oh, yeah, okay. So anonymous tips led to the shooting death of Tracadie businessman Michael Viennu almost 5 years ago in Bathurst. This is the story of what happened that day. This was by Shane McGee with files from Carissa Donkin, December 7th, 2019. So this is from late last year. Mitchell Villeneuve stepped off a Via rail train in Bathurst, New Brunswick, an innocent man. Trafficking drugs. Oh, sorry. Michelle. Sorry, folks. Just give me one sec here. Michelle Villeneuve stepped off a Via rail train in Bathurst, NB, an innocent man after a trip to Montreal with his fiancée to watch a hockey game. He didn't know 6 undercover police officers were waiting for him. Anonymous tips led police to believe Villeneuve and Anik Basque were trafficking drugs, and they hastily arranged an operation to intercept the trackety couple. And let me tell you, this is kind of hitting home with me personally, because when I used to drive for long haul for Herman Sullivan's Trucking out of Blackville, New Brunswick, his wife Mildred told me about an incident, and I was so grateful at the time that the truck driving company that I worked for, like most fairly decent sized trucking outfits, were equipped with Qualcomm satellite tracking so that you could tell where the truck is at all time. Because someone had actually called the police, and the police called my employer. Well, my employer's wife, well, she's the co-owner of the company. The employer, Herman, he actually drove truck himself, but called Mildred, his wife, and suggested that someone, another one of these anonymous tipsters, right? What the fuck is with these anonymous tipsters in Canada? Like, that's the thing. How can you just make such accusations and not be held liable or account for doing that kind of fucking shit, especially if it's proven to be false or incorrect? That, to me, that should be a crime. If you falsely accuse someone of a crime and they go through hardships as a consequence of that, you, I think, are the one that committed the fucking crime, right? Because you've sent people with guns, people that have violent tendencies themselves to deal with a situation. And yeah, anyways, like I say, I went through this myself. So like I say, this definitely resonates with me when I'm reading this story. And it kind of sends a little bit of a fucking chill down my spine, because now, fortunately, like I say, everything worked out for me. Mildred called me in the office and said, no, we understand. No, we know it's a lie. We know they're full of shit, because your truck was parked in your yard all weekend long, and this particular weekend that's supposed to. So it's like, well, thank goodness for that. But at the same time, what if my company didn't have Qualcomm satellites at the time to know that truck was where it was supposed to fucking be all weekend? Well, think about how detrimental that could have been. I could have very well ended up being just like this gentleman, dead. Because would I be if the 6 fucking cops come up to me and try to accuse me of doing something that I was wrong, I'm going to be rebellious against it. I'm not going to be so, meek or compliant, just say, oh yeah, treat me like shit or arrest me for something I've never done, right? But anyways, so anyways, yeah, definitely resonates with me. Anonymous tips led police to believe you knew, and what unfolded January 12th, 2015 in that snowy train station parking lot left Villeneuve dead. Since then, the split-second decision made that day have been the subject of a criminal investigation, a police discipline hearing, and a civil lawsuit, and will be examined at a future coroner's inquest. This story pieces together what happened based on more than a dozen witness accounts and police records. For the officers of the Northeast Integrated Intelligence Unit, that day began with the paperwork and sifting through emails. The unit, now disbanded, brought together a handful of officers from regional police forces in a Bathurst office for surveillance and intelligence gathering related to drugs and organized crime. So once again, drugs it shouldn't even be illegal to sell, grow, cultivate, or distribute drugs anyways, because it's voluntary. It's a voluntary interaction, right? And I know people don't like drugs. Okay, well then don't fucking do drugs. If you don't like drugs or you're against drugs, don't do drugs, don't grow drugs, don't go near drugs. But if other people like to do drugs, leave them the fuck alone. They're not causing harm to anyone but themselves, right? And I mean, people should be allowed, if they want to, are we going to fucking start, make it being fat illegal? Because fat people are causing harm to themselves too, right? Are we going to deem being fat illegal? No, of course not. So once again, let's use some common sense here. But anyways, the work usually involves talking to sources, checking on tips, and observing suspects. Cases built by the unit were normally handed off to a partner police force to carry out searches or make arrests. At 9:53 a.m., the day changed when RCMP Sergeant Ron De Silva, the unit supervisor, opened a tip received through Crime Stoppers. Yeah, the snitch. I've always loathed the very pretense of having that fucking snitch line Crime Stoppers in this country because, oh my God, so many people abuse that in so many ways. Busybodies, rats, snitches. Someone reported Michael Vinu and Anik Basque were traveling on the train from Montreal to Bathurst that morning with drugs. The tip said the train was to arrive at 8 a.m. You missed a load of drugs, De Silva told Constable Patrick Bolger and everyone else in the office. Bolger and his partner, Constable Matthew Boudreau, were members of the Bathurst Police Force drug unit, but had been specially assigned to the integrated unit in the fall of 2014. Anyways, folks, this is a long article. Anyways, if you want to continue to read it, because like I'm already too long in this stream as it is. Yeah, 2 hours and 15 minutes. So at the very least, let me tie this up by the 2.5 hour mark. But yeah, you can go ahead, like I say, and read this yourself. It's a long, drawn-out article, and they're doing a lot of the background, so it's going to be quite a while before I actually get to how it all played out. But yeah, there's enough information contained within that it'll give you a genuine understanding that yes, this white man was killed, murdered needlessly, based on an anonymous tip, and by police officers that obviously weren't acting in a proper or appropriate manner in dealing with this kind of situation or circumstance, which, first of all, like I say, shouldn't even be considered a crime in the first place. But anyways, it is what it is. So let me tie that one up. And of course, well, there was another article that is going to be included in it, which was, of course, the police investigation. The police investigated themselves, and at the end of the investigation of that Bathurst shooting, the shooting was appropriate, said the supervisor. So, we investigated ourselves, and we decided that the thin blue line is very important. I mean, it was all good. It was all legit. It's all on the up and up, right? Anyways, like, unbelievable. So let's see what else everyone's got to say here. And then, like I say, I'll tie up this stream and get ready for the next one tomorrow night. Isn't it? Tomorrow night? Tomorrow night? Isn't that what I was saying? With that fine gentleman, I believe his name is Thomas Rhino. Yes, tomorrow night. Or no, is tomorrow Monday? No, today. Yes, tomorrow's Monday. Yes. Try to keep the days. So tomorrow night, 7 p.m. And that's going to be Eastern time. So 8 p.m. Atlantic time. Me and Thomas Rhino talk about, I think it's something about banning Antifa, and poll replies, government is a terrorist organization, all stuff like that. All good stuff. Liberals guzzle sewage, and call it wine. JAM up. Yeah, thanks. YouTube glitch. Oh, was something happen? Oh, YouTube glitch. Yeah, that's weird though, right? So you saw that too, right, D? You saw that too, right? So it wasn't just me. It's like, what the hell? Well, I'm definitely gonna look at it again when I'm watching it. Actually, an hour and 48 minutes. Yeah, I'm not gonna watch the whole thing, so I'll skip probably ahead to it. But it's pretty wild, right? I know when I went through school, there's a lot of offspring from. Something is flat earther. Looks like you guys are just kind of talking back and forth. Personal accountability is key to research, 100%. Right on. They're extremists on the left and right. 100%. 100%. Yes, there are individuals, right? What's the latest conspiracy? Islamic Muslim Brotherhood had been behind the Black Lives Matter, which is just another tool the globalists used to create disruption. So unbelievable, right? Whatever. Hey, thanks for bringing that up, Coach T-Mac. That's quite the that's quite the profile picture you get there, Coach T-Mac. But yeah, I know they're constantly trying to pit, like, it's just constant racial divides, right? It's unbelievable. And just like cringe. Yeah, cringe. That's what I'm kind of thinking there. JAMF. Okay, so I see you just say up yours and Gato having a nice little back and forth there. Do your thing, gentlemen. Don't let me interrupt you. Okay. Yes, yes. Not like I needed you to confirm that for me, but yes, yes, they are. Just yep, yours. Very, very much so. You got to, and in these rural communities, like I say, a lot of stuff. The only thing that's helps you though is, you know, neighbors, small communities, very closely connected, and people watch over each other, keep an eye out for each other, because we know we've only got ourselves to take care of each other. So one thing I will say about these rural communities is, not huge in terms of power of numbers, but we've definitely got each other's back, right? Not all, some. Merlin Wilder, Y letter, we letter, we letter, Y letter, Y letter, we letter, the third. That's pretty cool. What's going on, Merlin? Fucking I. Fucking I. Right on. What's going on, Merlin? Thanks for joining the stream. If you don't mind, hit the subscribe button on the channel. I'd really appreciate that. And also hit the like button. That would be really cool. Bennett, when the cops are arresting you, this is not the time to object. The time to object is in court. It's the kind of detail that keeps you alive. Yeah, I know, but hey, listen, we all understand the pragmatism behind, not challenge them at the moment. And I definitely agree with you there. But like I say, some of us, and this is the part that people always got to take into account, aren't just quite as easily or readily able, right? Some guys just don't have the bending of the fucking knee in us, right? We just it's like God damn it, I think I'm seized up here. Even my back, I won't bow to anybody. It's like, I don't know. I've never had any x-rays, but I don't feel I have any back issues, right? I move pretty good. I can tie my shoes anytime I want. But the minute someone expects me to bend the knee or yield to these fucking sociopaths, for some reason, I stiffen up. I don't know. I don't know what it is, right? Which, yes, definitely causes harm to me. But once again, and I get it, right? If I die from challenging their authority, then I guess you could come back and tell my wife later on, Gato was like, well, if Bennett had to listen to me, right? I guess that would be true, but my wife knows me well enough. At the same time, it'd probably be like, yeah, but the guy that would have been still alive after that, I don't know who the fuck he would be. That wouldn't be the guy that I know, right? So I don't know. That's the thing. Like, how much of myself am I willing to destroy just to, no? Well, like I say, because I love my family, I do put up with a lot of shit. I will admit that, but I'm not one. I will just mention I'm not one for bend the knee, but I am wise enough that, yeah, in that situation, I suppose, right? I suppose it is good advice. I'll just leave it with that. Otto is in that situation. Yeah, you're probably right. But that's more of a, actually, best way for me to think about that is rather than thinking of in the manner I was, actually the best way to think of that is, yeah, God was absolutely right, which actually shows just how corrupt and how vile the police forces are in this country, in particular at CMP, when people have to give each other advices. Yeah, just don't even say nothing. Just do exactly what they say, right? I suppose that's probably what you would say too when they were coming, the Nazi regime were coming, or the brown shirts, or the black shirts, or the Stasi, right? But at the end of the day, the ones that thought they were doing the right thing by just going along and don't challenge them, well, a lot of them also ended up in the gas chambers, right? Or in ditches or huge mass graves. So, like I say, you could kind of look at that from both sides of it, right? Currently, right now, I would say I would definitely agree with you under our current situation. Depending on how far things get out of hand or how much the police are willing to escalate, I don't know. I might have to call you out on that one at some point in time, but I would actually say I kind of agree with you currently. Right now, I would say, yeah, try your best to get yourself at least in a position where you're not standing before a sociopath with a gun, right? Probably not a good idea to poke at a sociopath with a gun. That's good. That's actually good advice. I would agree with you there, Gato. But anyways, thanks for everyone that did show up to the stream. Like I say, lots of great information pertained, and especially in that first article, but even the subsequent follow-up articles that I dealt with, and some great contributors from Canada, like I said, the National Post, in particular. And thanks for those gentlemen and anyone else that's contributing to talk about not just the defunding of the police, but the inherent violence that is part and parcel of the enforcers of the state, those mindless enforcers. This is something that really needs to be dealt with. And like I say, hopefully we can put the racial division off to the side or on the back burner and let the media hacks continue on with that while the rest of us come together and try to find out active solutions to get out from underneath this problem. And it does seem that's starting to take place today. And defunding the police, or at least a threat of defunding the police, would definitely go a long ways, right? Because they all want to get a paycheck. They're not going to be quite willing to be mindless order followers for free, right? So yeah, defund the police is definitely something that's a good option, and offering alternative solutions and getting rid of some of these police forces and replacing them with something entirely different. That's another good solution, another potential option. Anyways, thanks. Like I say, no problem, Coach T-Mac. Thank you for joining the stream. But anyways, thanks for all you folks for joining the stream today. I know it's a little bit chilly on the old East Coast here, but maybe it's better in the rest of Canada. And if it is, like I say, you folks enjoy what's left of your weekend. And like I say, if you get bored or if you got time tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time, join me and Thomas as we have a fine discussion, and we'll be dealing with like I say, more of somewhat of the same, I guess. But actually, no, that poll. Yeah, I've got a few more days of that Twitter poll that was up there. Actually, I haven't seen any more follow-up replies to it, so I better get back and see how that's panning out. Anyways, like I say, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll see you in the next stream. This is Canadian Libertarian. I love liberty.